Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the Sunday Grind. It's me, your host, Jum Jumington, former CEO of Jumington Dynamics. Good God, I can't get it out. Jumington Dynamics, broadcasting live from the Jumington Dynamics auxiliary hazardous material storage facility somewhere in the world. I should stop trying to say that so quickly if I can't say it smoothly. What's up, everybody? Welcome in to this fabulous Sunday afternoon. It's a bit chilly. It's a bit chilly where I'm at. A little bit of snow out there. Not the greatest time of year. Not as cold as it has been, but it's been pretty damn cold. What's up, Buttercast? Welcome in. I'm glad to be here and glad to be well enough to come back after Thursday's stream. Everything is kind of a blur. I ended that stream like very suddenly and then was just violently ill for the rest of the evening, well into Friday morning. And then I spent all day Friday sleeping no more than half an hour, 45 minutes at a time. And I wake up for a few minutes just to get up and move around. And like measure if I was still going to be violently ill and then go back to sleep for about half an hour. So the whole day just kind of drifted by in a weird fever haze. It was not great. That's my fault for going off the menu. I gotta stick to the protein slurry. Sometimes you get a taste for a little, like, you know, in the free range protein, and man, you don't know what's in that. So yeah, it was rough, but I'm alive now and I've been able to move about. It was okay yesterday. I went out and saw Nosferatu in the morning with an old friend of mine. That was very good. It was very good. It was very creepy and weird and gross. And I ate a little bit of popcorn. Usually I go to the movies, I eat like a whole tub of popcorn and I just wolfed that thing down like before the movies barely started. And just owing to how messed up my internals are, like I ate maybe like a quarter of it and I was just like, hey, I'm done. I'm done. Went out to eat with a different group of friends later that night. Same deal. Had like a little bit of food. Like, oh boy. Well, eating was a mistake just because I couldn't finish it. Oh, It's that time of year, I guess. I usually get fairly sick once a year, and it's always in the winter generally. Although usually it holds off till like March has been the norm. So maybe it's good that I broke tradition. Knock on wood, I won't get two this year. Hopefully y'all are doing great. This is a new thing that I'm starting up here on the channel here. The Sunday grind. Now, what is the Sunday grind? You may ask. The Sunday grind is basically where I hesitate to use the term shove, but that's pretty much it. Where I slot in games that, well, feature a lot of grinding, maybe a little bit lighter in narrative, that are interesting to me for a variety of reasons. Games that I want to play that I think maybe, I don't know, aren't quite enough meat to them or interest to them to take up a regular weekly slot. And it's just something to kind of, relaxingly grind through on a Sunday afternoon before kicking off the week all over again. If that makes sense. And today I'll be starting with Dragon Warrior, which was the US release title for Dragon Quest. It was actually the title used for Dragon Quest until Dragon Quest 8. Which is funny. It kind of bums me out a little bit because I think this is such a petty reason, but like the Dragon Quest logo is so much cooler than the Dragon Warrior. Although I will say Dragon Warrior 2, which we won't get to that for quite some time. Dragon Warrior 2 has a pretty cool like animated intro that I don't believe the Japanese version had. But we'll get to that. How's everybody else doing? How's everyone else's week and weekend? It's kind of unnerving to me when I lose a day like that to like sickness, or if I have to be out of town and just lose touch with everything, and then come back and like barely any time has passed, and it's like, tell me what I've missed. Tell me what I've missed from my coma. Where is the world now? And those are questions I generally don't want to know anymore. Would you make the original Final Fantasy Sunday grind? Yeah, I would. The original. I will say if I played like the Pixel remaster, it might not, but it probably still would. Because the thing with like any of the remasters or remakes they make of a lot of older games, almost universally the first thing they do is turn down the amount of XP you need to level or turn up the amount of XP you gain. Either way, they take a lot of the grind out of it. A lot of the earlier games, or they change up how you can save. That's a big thing in Dragon Warrior that will eat up a fair amount of time, is the saving. But your losses on death can be pretty harsh too. But I probably would. I think I would probably put Final Fantasy 1, maybe Final Fantasy 2. I don't know if I've ever actually completed the second one, because the second one didn't make it over to the US for quite some time, and I had a copy of it for Game Boy Advance. But what we got here is Final Fantasy 2. I'm sure everybody knows this. Was actually Final Fantasy 4, if I'm not mistaken. We skipped like 2 and 3 completely, I want to say. And then we got 4 on the Super Nintendo, but that was 2 here, and then 3, which was actually 6. And then they jumped to 7. Imagine someone has an interest in that back then when 7 came out without knowing what's really going on, just like losing their mind. The West can't handle Final Fantasy 2. What's up, Kankuro? Same with Mario Land 2. Is it Mario Land 2? Mario Land 2 isn't that Wario Land? No, there's another one. There's another one. I started Final Fantasy 2 on Super Mario Land 2 was a lie. 6 golden coins. Is that a lie? Well, I have to look this up now. I really liked Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, but I thought it was a very weird game. But part of that, besides just liking the game and the music, as different and strange as it was, there was a comic book from Valiant Comics, who brought back a lot of old properties. One among them was Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. Then they became owned by Acclaim. Oh, you already streamed? Teach me how to play stream? Yeah, I bumped up earlier on Sunday because I don't want to go super late because, like, I'd like to consider a lot of people probably have to get up and work in the morning. People may already have to get up and work now. But that's just my old school Monday through Friday 9 to 5. Claim Gecko was peak nostalgia gaming. Oh, Gex. Yeah, Turok 2. Turok was a solid game. It was very impressive at the time. Very popular. But all those things go back to even before Valiant. Because what Valiant did was they picked up a lot of old Dell and Gold Key. Is it Dell? Yeah. Comics. Like Solar, was it the Man in the Atom? Magnus Robot Fighter. Magnus Robot Fighter was fun. A little bit goofy. After Acclaim bought them out, they tried to revamp a lot of that stuff. Didn't always work out. But what's up with Silas? Didn't say hello. Welcome in. Hope your weekend's going well. So far, so good. You know, I was saying earlier, I got to see Nosferatu and visit with 2 different friends, which was very nice. My eyes are like shifting weirdly. Just the lighting. Hey, Flash, welcome in. And you know, my fast come on, fast leave illness was not too bad. It was gone by sometime Friday night. Did you enjoy Nosferatu? I did enjoy Nosferatu. I enjoyed it a lot. I can't wait to. I don't know if I'll see it again in the theater, but I really want to see it again. But I really want to own it on home media. So as soon as I see a Blu-ray release for that, I'll be snapping it up. If for nothing else, that I want a high quality clip or GIF of the orderly talking about the guy they caught. We caught him. He was eating them raw. Just that one bit alone is such a weird thing to catch on, but really hung on me. The movie wouldn't be 10 minutes long if W was obsessed with flipping houses. Yeah. He was trying to get ahead. In a crazy workaday life. That's pure capitalism right there. Like, hey, we need you to go to this castle, this ancient castle. It's like, well, I do need the paycheck because we would really talk about like modern problems, right? We really want to move out of the apartment and own a home, but I just don't make enough money. But this is my chance to get ahead. I just got to sell myself a little to a strange Carpathian noble zombie man. But really, you're not selling yourself. Your boss is selling you up the river. That's working life. That's capitalism right there. But also, I couldn't help but think through a lot of it that, like, this is what happens when you don't teach your citizenship about psychic powers. And you just this is why the Jedi Council did not want to train Anakin. Because they recognize that if someone has powers, but they don't learn how not to use them from a young age, things just go wrong. This is a classic example of that. Person with psychic abilities, no one's there to lead them on their way. They reach out, make contact with some eldritch undead monstrosity. Happens all the time. Hate to see it. Boss gets the cash you get from the Carpathian. Yeah. I mean, isn't that how it is? Like, if you ever work for like contract work and you find out your contracting place is billing them like hundreds of dollars an hour and you're getting like 10, it's like, wait a minute, where's all that money going? Why am I making someone else rich here? It says here that hauntings do not count as a valid property damage claim. Yeah. The person I feel the worst for is the friend that they stay with. Like, his life is just like straight up ruined. And over. I would say no spoilers, but I mean, like, first of all, it's Nosferatu is just, you know, the legally distinct Dracula. And secondly, Nosferatu is, what is that? It's from 1922, okay? Now, I'm not saying you have to have seen it, but like, this story's been out there. The statute of limitations is over. It's in the public domain. Yeah. It's kind of hard to spoil the story, right? It's like spoiling how the Wizard of Oz ends. Like, oh, don't tell him the twist ending. Like, you had your chance. Super Mario Land 2. Now I need to know, Kankuro, because you've put this thought in my head. What is the secret of Super Mario Land 2? I'll have to look into that more, unless it's just a bit, because now I'm like, I vaguely remember hearing something about, well, I'm thinking of Mario Brothers 2, not Super Mario Land 2, unless that's what you're talking about. Because I know Mario 2, like the Japanese Mario 2, we got as the Lost Levels, which was just Mario, but harder, much harder. And instead they repackaged Doki Doki Panic, which I quite enjoy. Isn't that weird? One of my favorite Mario games is like the canonically not Mario game. But I love Mario 2. I love the American Mario 2, which was fairly popular in Japan. They re-released it in Japan as like American Mario 2, which is pretty funny to me. It's imposter, yeah. But we got so much good stuff out of it. We got the Shy Guys out of it. Like, there are bits in that game that survive into further games. So like, whether or not it was canon then, it's canon now. It's part of it now. We just don't get to throw vegetables anymore. And like have secret potions that let us pull up vegetables that become rockets. And have weird masks chasing us because we picked up keys. Some of that stuff didn't make it. You know, I don't think King Wart ever really reappears. That would be fun though. I mean, Mouser was like in the cartoons. Yeah. Nosferatu was nuts, but I couldn't help watching it and thinking like, it's all about money. It's all about the money for these people. Now they're just gonna everyone's life is getting ruined. You got a blood plague beset upon the lands because someone had to earn that bag. It's like sometimes you gotta take a step back and be like, is this really worth it? Is my paycheck really worth this much turmoil? It probably is, because we all got bills to pay. I mean, that's the reality we face. But it's nice if you have that option to say, no, I think I'll take a pass. I think I'll take a pass on a special assignment. The masks are the worst. Yeah, I know those masks like got me a lot when I was a kid. I was like, no, I want to go away. But you just throw the key and they'll leave. And you play a deadly game of cat and mouse with them, dragging the key along and then shucking it when they get too close. I haven't played that in a while. That one was a lot of fun. But yeah, the Final Fantasy. The first Final Fantasy has story, so to speak. The first Final Fantasy is very interesting because like the majority of the monsters in that are just straight up pulled from D&D. I mean, really, it's the origin of like RPGs, video game RPGs, is Dungeons and Dragons. That's where it all travels back to. You can trace the lineage back to all of that stuff. Well, to what we largely consider like the pure RPG. Similar strain, everybody was bidding on the Ancient Manuscript. Oh, I love that show. Oh, the strain was so good. Did they ever finish that? Did they finish that show? I never saw the rest of it, if they finished it. But I enjoyed that show a lot. I thought that was very good. I lost my train of thought. That's not on you. That's on me. I've lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, the D&D end of it. I mean, that's if you trace back like the RPGs, because you get really weird with the RPG nomenclature. There's a lot of debate and no like real concrete agreed upon terms to define RPGs, because you'll find edge cases that don't quite match up but are still considered RPGs, and then you get like an action RPG, which is not really an RPG but has some RPG elements, but it's more action based. Diablo would be considered an action RPG. What exactly nominates the difference gets really fiddly. So remember they finished. It was a good show. I thought it got canned before they really wrapped it up, or it got canned and they wrapped it up really hastily. That was my recollection. I'll have to talk to my brother. I know he kept up with that. He keeps up with that stuff a lot more than I do. I lose track of things easily. But that's, including what we're going into tonight. This game came about because of games like Wizardry and Ultima, which came about because of tabletop Dungeons and Dragons, which itself came about because of tabletop Napoleonic War games and a modified German spy game, which is the origin of a lot of that stuff. It was very popular in colleges in the 70s when people would have access to like mainframe computers and build the earlier CRPGs. And then that's where this bad boy comes into. The only show with tongue vampires. Yes. Vampires were freaky in that. They were just nasty. I love the way board games influence stuff. It's really fun seeing things go like full circle on that stuff too. It's like the East versus West influence a lot of things, right? Because a lot of like the JRPGs foundation comes from Western RPGs. But then after a while, JRPGs got really popular. And then some of that was taken back and influenced like Western development on things. It's in a similar vein, at least in my mind, to Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo, which they famously filed a lawsuit against the production company behind Fistful of Dollars, Sergio Leone's Fistful of Dollars, for rather blatantly, ripping off the story and just ripping off the movie entirely. And if you've ever watched Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars, and if you haven't, you should, they're both excellent movies, it's pretty much the same story, the same beats, the same stuff going on, just in different settings. One's in feudal Japan, one's in the Wild West. All right. And then there's a third movie to that, starring Bruce Willis, Last Man Standing, which takes place in like Prohibition era America, Prohibition era West, right? Which is even stranger that they still continued it. But it's not like Yojimbo was without influence, because there's several parts of that can easily be seen to have been pulled directly from an earlier American movie, The Glass Key, based on a Dashiell Hammett story. And then Kurosawa later came back and dipped his toes into Western culture with Ran, which is just King Lear set in feudal Japan. So like there's a shimmying back and forth of this stuff, and I find interesting. But I love those examples because I love those movies. And watching those movies like back to back is like super eye-opening. You're like, wait a minute. Your Eastern Western flick is the good, the bad, and the weird. Oh, that's really good. I love how that movie ends up. I don't want to spoil anything. I really enjoyed that movie. I liked how the actors in that. That is Korean, I want to say. That was a really good one. Good, the bad, and the weird. Well, let's bounce over to the game screen and start talking about some of the Dragon Quest stuff. Was green? Yes. All right, let me get this. It's our earliest rendition of the classic Dragon Quest theme. Pretty solid. We don't need to talk about the composer. And his controversial views that really came to light during the Olympic ceremony some years back when the Olympics in Japan, where they opened with a lot of video game music, and he was part of it. And then they booted him off of it because they're like, wait a minute, this guy's got some hot takes on things. This guy's got some views we don't want to be associated with. I don't really want to get into that. You can look it up. I don't want to discuss that and things. I don't want to soil my Sunday gaming time with that stuff. It was bad news, but that's a whole other thing. Dragon Warrior, released in 1989 for the NES. You can see 1986 Enix was the original release date in Japan. It was a 3-year spread between the release of Dragon Quest and Dragon Warrior in the US. In that time, they're able to make a number of improvements to the game. It's one of the few times, certainly not like a real rare occurrence, right? But most of the time when we hear about changes between the Japanese release and US release of games of this era, it's usually like, well, they censored this, removed that, the music's different because they didn't have the chips, etc., etc. They actually improved this. It had a larger ROM size. They were able to make more advanced graphics to it. They improved the graphics somewhat. A lot of different things. The one thing I don't like, which is relatively minor, is the title. This is okay, Dragon Warrior. The original title looks a lot cooler. In my mind. Even just like the name, like that's some real like solid design work there. Really enjoyed that title, Dragon Quest. There is a ROM hack that translates the original Japanese release of Dragon Quest. I can scarcely recommend it. I can scarcely recommend it. If you want like a different translation, play the Game Boy Color releases. You can also play it's on Switch now. It's on mobile. They've re-released it numerous times. The Switch version is basically the mobile version. The graphics are kind of I'm not a huge deal with them. I know they're doing an HD remake of it like next year, I think. Dragon Warrior sounds like a kung fu movie, not a JRPG. Yeah. So the reason they had to go with Dragon Warrior was that Dragon Quest, the trademark for Dragon Quest, was owned by TSR at the time for a board game. Which, if that's not some bitter irony, right? Is this thing bursting out of the bursting out of the computer games that were inspired by D&D, then hitting up against the D&D company owning the trademark for an unrelated board game that is hardly remembered now. Honestly, it's not that big of a thing. But they kept with the Dragon Warrior game until the 8th title in the US. Now, many of those in between 4, we just didn't really get. They weren't bringing them on over. JRPG sales were typically lower in the US, and so we got passed over on a lot of titles. Same thing happened with like the Tales series. A lot of stuff they're just like, nah, they don't get it. It's not worth it. We did eventually receive them on the DS and the 3DS for a lot of them. I think 10, I want to say, was the only one, because 10 was the online version. I think there's an offline version, but I don't know that we'll ever see that fully. But it's pretty funny how long they kept with the title. A lot of the translation is kind of the translation in this game catches a lot of flack because it does what a lot of writers like to do. If they want something to seem antiquated or fantasy, they'll use like flowery Shakespearean English, which is kind of goofy in retrospect, but I think it's fine. You know, to the differences between them, besides the title screen, one of the biggest differences was the sprite work. This is the original Japanese sprite work. Additionally, the character did not change directions. He didn't face any direction. He always looked straight, but you still had to look at things, be pointed at things to interact with them. So you just had to make sure to push the direction. Like if you want to talk to a person, you had to push the direction of the person before talking to them. So they expanded the graphics for the US release, and you can see the difference between both the main character sprite and the shoreline. The tiles on the shoreline actually has a shoreline. It doesn't just jut into the water. So it got a little bit more advanced. Unfortunately, the US version did not sell that well. What's up, Sky? Welcome in. So this was by 1989, we had already gotten The Legend of Zelda, which is not an RPG, right? I know it gets tossed out there a lot, and I think it matters in terms of ascertaining like the American audience's taste and interest in this stuff. Because while it is not really an RPG, I would hesitate to even call it an action RPG. It's like an action adventure kind of game. Music is on the loud side. I can crank that down a bit. We'll pop that down a bit. It's pretty up there. It should be better now. Zelda role-playing game and RPG. Sky, I don't know if you're trying to be funny there, but RPG stands for role-playing game. I don't know what you're trying to say there. It depends, like I was saying earlier, it depends on your criteria for that. Like I've heard you have to have levels, explicit leveling. You have to have explicit stats. You have to have explicit inventory. Some people have argued that it's not a role-playing game unless the character has a backstory motivation beyond what you insert, which is kind of ridiculous because many games are explicitly created so that the main character is a blank canvas for you to put yourself onto. Is the rank of master but cannot sit on the console? Yeah, I think The Legend of Zelda owes more to like the Tower of Druaga and games like that than an RPG ilk. But it's certainly graphically and the presentation wise, it's very similar. So I don't think it's lines up so much with, oh, the Zelda was popular and that's why we made this. I think there's two different kind of branches there. I don't know if it's just the title screen. Music is kind of like that in this. Also, it just kind of repeats on and on. I can get to a different song at least. So when this game released in the US, it was not a hot seller, like at all. They really expected it to do better. It was very popular in Japan, and its popularity helped set the stage for other series that followed a similar setup for it. Right, the way it's controlled, the way the game is played. A lot of the conventions originate with this. In series like Final Fantasy and Phantasy Star, and basically any RPG that came after this can trace its lineage in some way back to this, or to one of the series it inspired. Although the whole tree goes back to this one, which itself, as I said, and you read a lot better detail about this stuff. Just doing a brief overview. This itself takes its inspiration from Wizardry and Ultima. Yuji Horii had previously worked on a game to kind of prove out the feasibility of a menu-based command system with the Portopia serial murder case, which I played last year. That may even go back to 2023, which was originally a PC game that used the noun-verb interpreter, and he had to adapt that because the Famicom did not have, strictly speaking, did not have a keyboard. Technically it did, but we'll just say it didn't. And that's where he came up with the menu-based system, and there's a basis for this. And that's where most of the RPGs kind of carry forward with that, the menu-based system that was used in that game. And then the Portopia serial murder case, when it was ported to the Famicom, he added a first-person dungeon crawl section inspired by Wizardry. This game has a lot of RPG elements inspired by Wizardry. It has an overhead view inspired by Ultima. So it was pulling on existing products at the time that did not exist on console. RPGs of that time were primarily PC-based. Dragon Slayer is another one that was on the Japanese home PC market. What's up, David? Welcome in. Good to see you. I played this a lot, but I don't know if I ever did anything. There's not a lot going on with it. I'll be frank, but there are things to do. But it's going back to like the earliest originator of this stuff. It seems pretty thin. That's why we're doing it on a Sunday, right? That's why we're doing it on a Sunday. It's going to take a bit to go through because this game requires a fair amount of grinding. It was remade several times. There's a remake for the Super Famicom. We did not get in the US with updated graphics. There was a remake for Game Boy Color 1, 2, and 3, which have a new translation, and they're primarily based off of the Super Famicom versions. We did get those. Those are pretty good. It was remade for a collection on the Wii. I don't think it was a remake. It was just repackaged. They remade it for mobile, which we more or less got, and then we got the version on Switch. Isn't the version where you travel by yourself? Yep, you are a one-man band. You have no party, except for one small section of the game. You have one party, and even when you do have someone else, they don't do anything. So it's pretty bare bones. It's pretty basic as far as a lot of that goes. When this originally came out in the US, which didn't really sell well, you would get in the box the game, a manual, and this little yellow tip sheet. We can take a look at this tip sheet. Says 5 strategy tips to start you on your quest. Collect the treasure chest in the king's room. In the town, buy clothes and the club. Fight slimes, increase your experience, raise your level, restore energy at the inn. Return to the king and save the game when your level goes up. That's right, the only way to save in this game is to go back to the starting castle and talk to the king. You got to talk to him every time you want to save. Only one party member? Yeah. Oh, it can be very brutal. Dragon Warrior 3 is all-time favorite. Dragon Warrior 3 is very good. That's when they really started, picking up steam. Yeah. Yeah, you have to go back. Now, that's another thing that's different in the American version versus the Japanese version, which is a reversal of what we usually got, is that the Japanese version did not have a battery-backed save. You had to use passwords for that. So you had to go back to the king, and he would give you a password, which they described in the manual as the spell of resurrection, right? So that when you return to the game, you would read off the spell of resurrection, and that would bring you back to where you were. So at least in the US version, we got a battery-backed memory so that we could actually save the game. But you couldn't just save anywhere, which is kind of harsh. I should record your exploits. No one else is allowed, hero. Yeah, it's very funny. At level 3, you'll learn your first magic spell. That's all good to know. That's all good to know. A lot of this is covered in the manual too. We'll talk about that. We'll look at that a bit. So because it didn't sell very well, a short time later, in order to unload all of the extra copies that they had, because these things were expensive to produce, they had a bunch of them. Rather than throw them out, Nintendo had this great idea. What if we gave them away to Nintendo Power subscribers? According to Wikipedia, the retail price on this was about $50, and a year subscription to Nintendo Power was about $20. So if you were a kid in 1989 who was lucky enough to have a subscription to Nintendo Power, you would get Dragon Warrior, and in the box, you would get everything you see here, along with 2 fold-up maps, a guidebook, which is essentially a complete walkthrough for the entire game, and this neat little card, which details everything you get per level, where your stats should be per level, which there's some variability for that. That's why it has the max. It may change your experience necessary. It gives you a little direction of where to go in the adventure, what spells you get, and an explanation of what that spell is. This is like a very nicely done summary, to be perfectly honest. This is a really nice summary that'll get you through a lot of this stuff. E.T. just buried their shame. Yeah. Well, they had to bury him because by that point, like, they were dead. There was no one to send it to. Because in a subscription in the 80s, when I forgot, if he had a subscription in 1989, he probably would have gotten this. They sent out to just about everybody. It was a nice fat package. There's the back end. It goes all the way through up to level 20. And your recommendation of which bosses to fight to level, what your current goal should be at this level, where your equipment should be. I don't think I've ever seen anything so succinctly summarized as this little card here. What's funny, you can buy all this stuff on eBay. You don't have to get Dragon Warrior. There's a million copies of Dragon Warrior out there. It can still be expensive. If you get a loose cart, not that expensive. If you're trying to get one complete in box with all of this stuff in good condition, it may run you a bit. You might be better off picking them up piecemeal or getting reproductions. If you're not looking to collect it, like for the value, if you just want to get the stuff, you can find most of the stuff scanned online. But I know I did see like the tip sheet selling on eBay for like $40 just for this yellow sheet. Own a piece of history, I guess. The card though is really cool. And I will consult that quite a bit. So you got a lot. You got a lot for it. You got more if you subscribed to Nintendo Power. For Edmo's family, that's right. I'm gonna wreck their whole world. You got more from Nintendo Power than you did if you bought this retail, which is kind of it's kind of rough, really. Nintendo Power did have like a full guide in the Nintendo Power. It did have maps in Nintendo Power. They covered it quite a bit. They were pushing the game pretty heavily because I feel like they knew they had a winner. Maybe that people just weren't prepared for it yet. This is definitely one of those your kids are gonna love this kind of scenarios. Maybe, except that you were the kids, and your kids probably won't love it because it'll be too old. But you know what I mean. I did not play this as I did not have a subscription to Nintendo Power at this time. We did have a Nintendo. We had a Nintendo, the NES in 1987. I had The Legend of Zelda. I didn't really get into RPGs until the Super Nintendo. And I had a friend who had, I believe it was Dragon Warrior 3. I know he had the others, but Dragon Warrior 3 is the one that I saw. And I remember every time I'd go over, I'd ask him, can we check it out? No, you wouldn't understand it. You wouldn't get it. It's too involved for you. And I just kind of took him at his word. And it wasn't for many years that I realized that guy didn't know the hell he was talking about. That guy didn't know what he was talking about. The guy was just a dick. I could have played this. I could have played all these games. But that's, it is what it is. But I let that, pretty much like push me off of these things for a long time. Dragon Warrior Monsters also got it. Oh yeah. Yeah, they got, a great series, great offshoots. Rocket Slime is a really fun one. If you can find it, that was DS, and I think 3DS had one. Those were very fun games as well. Let's take a brief look at the manual here before I punch my name in. I got it somewhere. Oh, you can look at the map. Not that one. The maps too. This is one of the poster maps you'd get, which shows you the general location of a lot of the notable stuff you're going to go to and the names for them. Because there's no map in game. There's no map in game besides what you can see directly on the screen. It's too primitive for that. It's too primitive. And on the back, you had a monster identification chart, which is broken down into the areas nicely sliced where you encounter different monsters, which is useful for grinding and keeping track of things. But you'll learn pretty quick walking around where you're going to get wrecked. This is a classic map art. This was back in the time where, you keep in mind, back at this stage, most of these graphics, like this map, would have been stitched together photographs of a TV screen, right? There was equipment, highly specialized and expensive equipment that could print out off of a screen. They could print off a video signal, right? But most places, like a Nintendo Power, they would essentially just have a very elaborate photo setup to photograph a TV screen. And anytime you'd have maps like a Nintendo Power, it was just a series of stitched together analog photographs, because that was the tech at the time. So maps like this is not like a drawn map. This is made up of screenshots grabbed from the game. Chronologically, isn't this technically the third game lore-wise? I think so. I know the timeline gets a little back and forth on this. I don't know if that's true or not. That sounds right, but I may be confusing it with another one. The lore is honestly so thin that you're not like the Nest photo setup for yeah. That was basically how most places would do it. If you needed screenshots or something like that for magazines, more expensive places would have, might have access to the equipment to print off from a screen, but a lot of places were just like very careful setup with a lens pointed at a screen, which is pretty crazy because you take it for granted now. You just take a screenshot of whatever. It's all run on the computer. Or put it in a capture card. No big whoop. I think it was 321 or 312. I think it might have been 312. I think 312 sounds right. The story is pretty thin, so you can slip it in anywhere. I will say, if you're really interested in the Dragon Quest series, and you might feel a little bit put off by this game, that don't feel no shame. It's what you're well within your rights. I will also say, you're really not missing like a ton by not playing it, right? If you playing this game seems like torture to you, feel free to just like skip it. I enjoy it, and I'm not trying to be snooty about it. Like, this is a game. I'm not trying to be that guy and be like, you wouldn't understand it. It's just a very basic game. It doesn't have a ton of story. It's not going to like add a bunch to the lore of things. You don't need to play this game to understand Dragon Quest, right? And anything you need to understand, you could get within 5 minutes. You could get from just reading the manual. I still think it's fun. I think it's worth checking it out. But if you bounce off of it, please don't think I can ever play Dragon Quest games. I'm just not into them. They change. They get different. Play one of the newer ones. You may enjoy it. You may enjoy it. It's okay not to like the very old games. I've yet to meet a game that I didn't like in some regard. maybe some I like less, but I think every game has some quality to it. But you should never feel like, you ever see that where there's like, get those listicles that are like top 10 games every real fan should play of X or something, and you'll see some stuff on there. It's like, actually, I hated that game. I didn't appreciate that game. Never played that game. Not interested. And the article is just calling you out. Like, that's a bunch of BS. There is no true Scotsman there. All right. Let's take a look at the manual. I know that's what everyone likes. Just scan through the manuals. But there's story in this manual. There's story here. It's worth it somewhat. And please don't mind the endless looping of the audio, because you're going to hear a lot of that. I'm sorry to say, the musical compositions are not many and varied. There are a few tracks, and they will play over and over to make you crazy. Or you'll just really dig into it, and then you'll hear it all night while you sleep. This is Dragon Warrior in the instruction booklet. Back when they had the official Nintendo seal of quality, which there's plenty of NES games that aren't great, but they put their seal on. We don't really get manuals like almost at all anymore. I feel like the only time you see manuals in games is if it's a contrivance of the game, right? What was that game, Tunic? Where like there's a manual in that game you have to piece together within the game. It's like a part of the meta narrative of the game. But otherwise, yeah, they just on-screen directions and like a control input screen, and that's about it. So we get our map of Elfgard, which is very, very poor choice of font on coloring. This red letter on green does not stand out very well, at least to mine eyes. The plains of Tantagal. The Gar Peninsula. I think this is Gar. I can't read that. Rimyalar Islands. We will travel quite a bit across this land, which is honestly pretty sizable given the time, but not huge, but pretty sizable. The story of Dragon Warrior. In olden days of yore, the realm of Elfgard was cloaked in darkness. According to legend, a brave warrior, Erdrick, brought light back to the land by defeating an evil being. He used the balls of light bequeathed to him by a friend to drive off the enemies of Elfgard. He then gave the balls of light to King Lorik, who unified Elfgard. The land was at peace for many generations. In the time of King Lorik the 14th, the balls of light were stolen from Tantagal Castle by the evil Dragon Lord, and once again the kingdom of Elfgard was plunged into darkness. Could they fit Elfgard in there one more time? Many travelers fell prey to the merciless fangs of monsters, and the beautiful countryside was transformed into poisonous marshes that hindered travelers. It was also rumored that several towns and villages were destroyed, wiped off the face of the land by ghosts and dragons. Many brave warriors tried to recover the balls of light, but none of them ever returned from Charlock, the Dragon Lord's dark castle. The people longed for peace, but did not give up hope. The great seer Maheta predicted that one day a descendant of the valiant Erdrick shall come forth to defeat the Dragon Lord. Who is this brave soul? There is only one possible answer. You! Your quest is to find and to defeat the evil Dragon Lord. The time has come. This is the start of your adventure. Now, they replaced Akira Toriyama's art with what they thought was art that would be more appealing to a Western audience, that would match up more with Western tastes. All of what you would see in the first edition Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual, just with less nipples than were present in that. Well, not terrible. It certainly, to me, lacks the charm of Toriyama's art. It's similar to my issue with the earlier Mega Man artwork in the US, that they had this cool chibi Mega Man character that I love the design of, and you look at a lot of what we got in the US, and it was like they slowly morphed closer to the Japanese art style until eventually they just landed on it and said, you know what, that's what people want, it's fine. And this feels like that. So this just explains usual control. All this stuff. They have to explain a lot of the stuff. In the Japanese manual, they had have to explain your message speed because the manual, that part is in English on the first screen, how fast you want messages. So there's an explanation in the Japanese manual what those words mean because they're listed in English, which I thought was pretty funny. There's a little guy again. Canonically does not have a name. So people have said canonically has a name, but the intention of most Dragon Quest games is that the main character is a stand-in for you, so it doesn't necessarily have a name. I know some games do, but for the most part, they don't expect you to have like a set name. There's some interesting notes on the name. Here's where it gets weird with the commands. So talk, right? You have to go into the menu and hit talk to someone. That's not so unusual. Many games will just have a button, like an interact button, that you use, and depending on its context aware. This game, you have to open up the menu and use talk. Great. Status, check your status. Stairs. You have to go into the menu and select the stairs option to go up or down stairs in this game. You have to go into the menu and select the door option to open doors in this game. Spell, you cast spells. Items, you use items. Search, you search around. Take is how you pick stuff up. But stairs and door really stick with me, especially stairs. But that is how they made it. It does work. You get used to it. Fights are very simplistic. It's you and a monster. No groups of monsters yet. No other party members yet. In this game, it's just you versus a pretty much singular monster, which is pretty good because they can get pretty bloody. This game does not, generally speaking, impede you from just going wherever you want in the game, which means you could easily go to an area that has monsters that are way too tough for you and just get slaughtered. And what happens when you die? You go back to the king, you lose half your money. And that's part of the grind. That's a big part of the grind. One half of it is the experience in getting your level up there. The other half of it is racking up the intense amounts of golds you will need to get the progressively more expensive upgrades to your equipment. And when a lot of enemies are only dropping a couple coins at a time, that takes quite a bit. I remember exploring a lot, never making any progress as a 4-year-old. Yep. Yeah, half the cash is a lot. They originally had talked about doing half your experience, which would, I don't know if that would be better or worse. I feel like that would be worse. If it was both, absolutely terrible. But it's pretty crazy. Go experience strength, agility, your attack power, defense power, etc. Those are all pretty standard. At the time, some of this may have been new, right? Unless you played like D&D. Your description. I always find this interesting that they have different terrain, has different encounter rates, different movement speed. Even back then, they were doing something. It was more than just like flatly crossing the plains. How much that actually translates, I don't know. Except for the swamp. If you go through the swamps, you will take a ton of damage. You take damage every step in these swamps. It's brutal. Bridges. Beware of bridges. When you cross a bridge, you'll arrive in an area where stronger monsters live. That's true. Sometimes you'll get there just by walking 5 feet to the left of where you're at now, but there's that. Caves, castles, and towns. So they give you a pretty good breakdown of what's going on in the game. Not bad as a manual goes here. I remember these barriers. We'll see those eventually. All houses with roofs have an entrance. Sometimes you must search for the entrance. Curious. So it tells you how to identify with the shops. If you look at this image here, I know it's not super zoomed in. Well, you can't see my. Here's my pointer is way far away here. Get this bad boy all the way to the top. There we go. This is kind of what I'm talking about. You can see like the pixelization from a CRT. This is a photograph of a TV screen. You can see the the way it all fits there. Because it's very zoomed in. It's very zoomed in. But you can also, if you look closely at it, you can see how like the edges blur together. My favorite orange hand. It's my hand is it's fine. Go through your item descriptions, your weapons. Doesn't cover everything you can find. Keys. Keys drove me crazy in this game. Special keys that open closed doors. Although you can use them on any door, you lose one for each door you have opened. Basically, every door that is locked requires this key. And I want to say a lot of those doors don't go away when you unlock them. So you better make sure you get what you want out of it, because then you're going to have to use another key. You won't find these keys, not really. You got to buy them. The wing. Another legend has it that when lightning strikes and kills a wyvern, its wings fall down to earth with their magical flying powers still intact. Using these wings will bring you back to Tantagel Castle. That's a very useful item at some point in the game. When you're distant from the castle and you want to save, you can use the wings to instantly travel back to the castle. Fairy water is basically gives you a lower encounter rate. The spells are another interesting thing. So a lot of the names were changed from the Japanese version. I won't get into all of them because I don't have a full listing of them. I started putting it together and was like, I know that Erdrick's name is different. Some of the town names are different. Some of the monsters have different names. And they kind of settle in on those as the series progresses and the localizations get closer to what the original Japanese is. But there's always some difference in that stuff. I know like the later versions, I want to say the Game Boy Color versions use the names that are closer to the Japanese versions. But the spells in the Japanese version are just kind of nonsense words. They're magic words, right? And in the US version, it's just heal. And then later you get heal more and hurt. And then later you get hurt more. Sleep. Radiant. Stop spell. Outside. I love that spell. What's outside do? It takes you outside. You want to go outside? Just cast outside. Return is very nice. You get that pretty high up there. Repel. Heal more. Hurt more. I love this image for hurt more of just zapping this weird dungeon flumph. Hocus pocus abracadabra. Yeah. The king is doing like the, hey, you son of a bitch, I'm in. He's got his squire writing down your save. Hold on, let me record these bits for you in ye old artifact. To avoid damaging saved info, hold the reset button as you turn the power off. Did anybody remember this? This was a mainstay of a lot of earlier NES games, and they eventually kind of solved for the issue. The reason to do this is that the NES doesn't completely lose power when you turn power off from it, all right? There are still capacitors inside that take a second or two to discharge. And in the time between when you flip the power switch off and the power is fully discharged, the processor can still run for a bit, right? But because it's losing power, it can do some wonky stuff. And so for a lot of older games weren't written with protection for this. If you powered the game off without hitting reset, it was possible for the CPU to try to write something to the battery-backed SRAM and screw up your save. But if you held reset, it would lock the processor in a non-running state when you powered it off, so you wouldn't get random instructions potentially injecting in that. Games that warned you about this, yes, you could wreck your save by just hitting the off button and walking away. It was not super likely, but it happened. Remember he lost his Castlevania Specialist Contra saves that way? Yep. Legend of Zelda was like, that was the first one that I had, because it was the first game that I had that had actual save functionality in NES, and that was like a big deal. And they didn't really explain the technical reason why, and I always wondered as a kid, like, why? Why does it matter? Why does it matter? That's why. That's why it matters. Because, you know, like a lot of devices, the off switch isn't really off. It doesn't like hard kill the processor. It doesn't tell the processor to stop doing stuff. It just cuts the power, but the power kind of slowly fades out like a light bulb dimming. And in that time, it can do stuff. can be like, wait, and try to write something and screw it up. So if you play on a classic NES and you have a game that says this, do as you're told. Don't wreck your save. Visit the king and have your deeds recorded on the Imperial Scrolls of Honor to save your game. Your adventure is much longer than you think, so long that you'll never achieve your goal in a single day. Ah, damn it. Looks like we'll be back again next Sunday. For a while. To save your game, you must return to Tantagel Castle and visit King Lorik on the 2nd floor. Another thing, even when you're not ending the game, we advise you to go and visit the king, for example, at each promotion and level. Yeah, because you never know when you might just, like, lose power. And then there's more tips on how to start and right foot. Start a new game, enter your name. When you've done this, the king will appear. Press any button, the king will talk to you. Once you've heard what he tells you, do as you're told. Collect the 3 treasure chests and talk to the soldiers. They're sure to give you lots of useful advice in your travels. Enter commands by using the A button. See, they've already told you how to do this, but they're telling you again how to do this. They really, if you want to be nice, right? They're being extra thorough in covering how to play this game that may be a complete foreign concept to someone who may have only played like Mario Brothers, right? And DuckTales and what have you. Maybe trying on a game of this nature for the first time that may be a little bit more complicated. Or they just don't trust you. They think you just wouldn't get it. Yes, I do have a chip on my shoulder about that. About that one guy. I got one guide as a child, and it haunts me to this day. Now, open the door and set out on your adventure. The bottom of the stairway is the ground floor of the castle. You can see lots of people moving about. Talk with them for useful information. It's funny to me as someone who's played these games for a long time, but it really is like some of the best advice for RPGs. Hey, you see those people? Talk to them. Talk to all of them. Talk to everyone you can. You never know when someone's going to have information for you. Talk to people. Because you can just breeze past without talking to them, but sometimes they get some stuff in there. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's like Pokemon and they just tell you in a child's game about fighting monsters that they're sad about having a mortgage on their house. Which was a little bit too real for me, Pokemon. But you do you. You should be able to see the town of Breckenary. If you leave the castle, go into town and find the weapons store to the north. Straight up. Straight up! Now it's time to buy weapons and armor. What a selection of weapons and armor! But you've only got 120 pieces of gold. Are you going to buy the club and clothes or the bamboo stick and leather armor? That's for you to decide. Use your money wisely. Take a few steps out of town and monsters come to attack you. At level 1, you're still a weak fighter. Nevertheless, you should be able to defeat slimes. Attack them until they're defeated. You suffer damage when the slime hits you and your HP value goes down. When the HP value is displayed in red, that's a danger signal. When this happens, go back to town and stay overnight at an inn to recover your life force. The further away you roam from Tantagel Castle, the stronger the monsters become. Our advice is not to stray too far from the castle. Fight slimes and work on increasing your experience points. Primo's gonna be so mad. Oh my, I'm gonna destroy so much of his family in this. You thought he was mad when I wrote his name in the death note. I'm about to run his whole family in the death note here. While you're fighting slimes, you're bound to be promoted at some time to level 2. When that happens, go and see the king. He'll tell you how many more points you need to advance to level 3. Yeah, it's a useful function he has. You earwormed me. Now I earworm you. Straight up, now tell me, do you really want to love me forever? Oh, 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 or am I caught in a hit and run? That's a good one. That's a good one. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's a straight up. I just didn't want to continue it. Now I had to. Thank you, Silas. Thank you for completing the magic spell. I haven't heard that song in forever. Oh, I've lost my place here. Oh yeah, so he'll tell you how many points you need to advance levels. Promote to level 3, you'll learn a spell. Gain more strength and speed, and you'll be able to fight Drakis without much trouble. What the hell is a Draki? Level 4, you'll be able to use the spell Hurt. With this spell, you'll be able to defeat the magicians. If you continue the game like this, you'll gradually grow in strength and be able to travel to fields further away. Long, long ago, the hero Urjuk defeated the Dragon Lord. It's up to you to do the same and create new legends for the little kingdom of Alafgard. It's very funny they have like these tips on how to start, and the end of it is like more history. Hints on defeating the Dragon Lord. Look carefully at the windows. A window will appear at the top left of the screen when you come to a stop. Always check this window when you're traveling. It will provide you with important information. That's your status window. That's what it's, there should be those black bats. Yeah. I know what they are. But I mean, at this point in the manual, they haven't given you like a rundown of the bestiary. So it's just funny to say like, you could defeat the mugwumps. Like, that's great. You forgot to tell me what a mugwump is. You forgot to tell me what it is that I'm fighting here. Well, you'll figure out eventually. When you know what a Draki is, you'll know why it's a big deal that you can beat them now. If you're low on HP and MP, go back to town and stay in. If you don't, you'll die. And as a punishment, you'll lose half your gold. Judge monster strength. Monsters roaming out in the realm of Alefgard each have different HP values and ways of attacking you. Slimes are defeated after only 3 or 4 points of damage. However, wolves and skeletons won't be defeated unless you inflict several times that much damage on them. While you're fighting, remember how much HP certain types of monsters have, how they attack you, and how you can attack them back. Now, anybody who's played RPGs, like, you get this. Like, this is just how they work. This was new-ish at the time, at least on the console. This was kind of new ideas to be putting in front of, Johnny Mario Brothers. So, but it is funny to look at them because it's the same as when you open up a manual on NES and it's like, if you push left on the control pad, you will go left. Your character will move left on the screen. You're like, yeah, I just kind of got that. But there was a point where someone had to be told that. There's still people that might need to be told that, which is, some people just don't get it, I guess. My parents never did. You ever, when you're playing with a controller, like, move the controller? My parents would do that if they tried to play Mario Brothers when we were kids. And when they'd have to jump, they would, like, thrust the controller upwards as though it were motion controlled, as though pulling the controller up would move the character. It never did. They didn't make it very far. Pretty thorough for back then. Looking at it now, it seems like basic stuff. Yeah. Skillful use your items. Yes, good tips. Gather lots of information. To defeat the Dragon Lord, you must of course be strong and seek out where the Dragon Lord lurks. We already know he lurks in a castle. But we can find out eventually. Because it kind of assumes we don't have a map, because it didn't originally come with a map, aside from what's in the manual here. I'll get back to that page. Gotta go all the way back. Yeah, it doesn't list where the Dragon Lord is on here, where his castle is, even though it names it in the story. We don't yet know where it is. I know where it is. You must visit lots and lots of districts in Alefgard and gather information from the townspeople. Some of the things that they will tell you may not make much sense at the time, but as you go forward in the game, you'll understand the meaning of the words. You would be well advised to make note of what they tell you. So I think part of their thought process, right, in handing out all of these extra booklets, I'm not going to go through all of this. I will poke through this a little bit just to show you how thorough this is and how like this really just like walks you through the game. But I really wonder if they thought that it wasn't selling well because people were just stuck and really unsure what to do and packaged all this extra stuff because they're like, look, if we just walk you through it one step at a time, then we'll get you through it and you'll see how great it is. This at least has like some more Japanese art. I think some of this artwork was done by the guy who drew the Nestor comic in the NES. I can't recall his name, but I really liked his art style. Mom would do that. She's an Atari kid, so PS2 was kind of alien to her. Yeah, my parents had the Atari. I mean, they weren't kids when it came out. My parents had the Atari, and so they had the joystick, and I think they were used to like whacking that paddle around a bit. The only video game that, like, my dad never got into it. My stepdad will try to play sports games. He really loves Wii bowling. That's why I lost my Wii to the family after they were pretty much throwing it out, and I took it and modified it with HDMI output. And then they found out, and they're like, we want it back because we want to play Wii bowling again. He likes active games like that. My mom used to play Dr. Mario for hours and hours. She got very good at the game, but she would play for a long time. By that point, I had the Super Nintendo, so it wasn't like too heartbroken over it. But like, even if I wanted to play an NES game, I couldn't because she was in her office playing Dr. Mario. Yeah, but this goes over like all of this stuff. They give a very subtle clue, and I don't know if they intended to here. You could scarcely see it with these names they give as examples. So they're telling you how to name your character, and they give you 3 examples of names. Nestor, which is from a comic that ran in Nintendo Power, Link, and Mario. And while you don't see a lot of the character, if you look closely, you can notice that Nestor's HP is 1 lower than Link and Mario. All right. Well, you don't really have random starting stats. This has like all the equipment. This has, maps of everything. It's very useful if you get stuck on something. It's good to have. And it's nice that it has been preserved in PDF form. It's out there. There's actually a trick to the name. That there is a calculation that is done based on the letters you choose in your name that determines basically how your stats advance. And it's pretty well documented at this point where those numbers are. Remember, Kefka was a name that would get you a fairly powerful character. Now, how powerful? It's not a huge difference. It's not a gigantic difference, right? Like if I make my name Jum, right? And there's a website. You can calculate the name for this. You could do it. You could just do the math in your head too if you're smart enough. I'm not. But there are websites that will calculate this out for you. Dragon Quest II, I don't know if the US version does it. Changes your followers' names depending on what you name yourself. So if I use JUM, oh, that's a different one. Where is the page will not load. So basically what it does is it sets you with a good stat and a bad stat. Is your strength good and your agility is bad? Is your HP good and your MP is bad? Is the basic setup for it. And I can't access the page right now. That is unfortunate. Jum is an okay name, but you know what's a really great name? Jum exclamation. We're going to cheese it a little bit here. Now, it may not seem like it. If you were just trying different names and going back and forth, you could actually check your initial couple of levels. A name that penalizes your strength more will start you off with a higher strength. But as you level up, past a certain point, you'll start receiving negatives to your advancement. So your main stat will get worse over time rather than better. So it'll be jump. They had the extra oomph to it. We want fast. We can read pretty quick here. So here we are in the King's Castle. We're finally getting started of the game. It's only been an hour. That's again why this is on Sunday, because I got a lot to say about it. And here we are, beginning our adventure in Dragon Warrior. Descendants of Erdrick, listen now to my words. It is told that in ages past, Erdrick fought demons with a ball of light. Then came the Dragon Lord, who stole the precious globe and hid it in the darkness. Now, Jum, thou must help us recover the ball of light and restore peace to our land. The Dragon Lord must be defeated. Take now whatever thou may find in these treasure chests to aid thee in thy quest. Then speak with the gods, for they have much knowledge that may aid thee. May the light shine upon thee, Jum! We can check our status. Low numbers. We don't even have a single point of MP. But as we go up, we will have better strength and better HP, which works out better. There's not a lot of spells in this game, and most of the time you're just going to be stabbing stuff. Well, we'll take this chest. Of gold, thou hast gained 120. Fortune smiles upon thee, Jum. Thou hast found the torch. Yeah, so maybe you can see now why the Shakespearean English is a little thick. Fortune smiles upon thee, Jum. Thou hast found the magic key. It's magic. In what way? It opens a door. Dost thou know about Princess Gwaelin? No. Half a year now hath passed since the princess was kidnapped by the enemy. Never does the king speak of it, but he must be suffering much. Jum, please save the princess. You know, I always love in RPGs that the world is in peril, but I still need you to pay for your equipment and items. Yep. They still got bills to pay. I mean, isn't that just like the real world, you know? Like, yeah, we're all in trouble here, but like, man, that landlord, he don't care. I'd love to help you out, but like, these burgers don't fall off a tree. But yeah, it is. You'd think someone would just be like, look, just take it. I'm already done for. That's about the only time you do get anything for free is if someone's like, look, I'm dead anyway. I'm bleeding out here. You just take this stuff. And even then, they'll probably be like, the only thing I ask is, like, oh, geez, another quest. At least in this one, they're like, here, take all this treasure I got. Great, how much money do you have? 120 gold. That's it? That's it? We'll see real quick how much that's really going to do for me. If thou hast collected all the treasure chests, a key will be found. Once used, the key will disappear, but the door will be open and thou may pass through. Here's Need to Adventure. None of them try to make a GoFundMe account. Yeah. I don't know, the hero's GoFundMe account is the heap of dead enemies out there and the innumerable graves that they robbed. Because let's be real here, right? When you're out there raiding old dungeons, that's someone's grave and you're robbing it. We can try to romanticize it, but that's what's going on. They may be evil, right? They may be liches or vampires or zombies or whatnot. You're still robbing the dead. When you play Super Hydlide? Oh, someday. Someday. When you say Super Hydlide, are you referring to what the Hydlide... Was the Hydlide on the NES Super Hydlide? Or is that Super Hydlide for the Sega Genesis? I know it's not Virtual Hydlide, which I'm probably get around to eventually. But I'm not looking forward to the very bad game with this rival mechanic that no one should have ever done. Hydlide Regular was on the NES. Hydlide was on NES. Hydlide was PC 88 originally, and then it had a port to the NES, which the original name was like Hydlide Special or something like that. It may have been Super Hydlide. There was a Hydlide on the Sega, on the Genesis, that has some issues. The Virtual Hydlide is one of the... It's not very well rated. What's up, Zane? Welcome in. What's up, Perhenmo? I don't know if I said your name double or just missed you the first time. Just hedging my bets there. But I bought the Egg Console release of Hydlide for the PC 88 on the Switch, so I will play that one too eventually. Or I can play it on NES. Either or. They're pretty comparable. East of this castle is a town where our weapons and many other items may be purchased. Return to the inn for a rest if thou art wounded in battle. Jum! Sleep heals all. Boy, I wish that was the case in real life. All right. Now we're doors. So this is one of the few doors that will actually vanish when you unlock it. Many other doors just kind of let you in and then they'll be back later. So now we have to go to the menu and use the stairs. I'm pretty sure they got rid of that after the first game, but it's still pretty ridiculous. King Lorak will record thy deeds in his imperial scroll, so thou may return to thy quest later. If thou art planning to take a rest, first see King Lorak. So I find interesting about the save mechanic in this is that, in my mind, the reason you have to return to the king to do it is that originally it had no save mechanic, and you had to go to the king, and he would give you your password. Which is still, like, they could just put it in, like, a menu option. But that does make more sense than having to go back there to save. But the necessary changes, I think, to just allow you, like, there's no room on this menu. They'd have to redo a whole bunch of stuff if they wanted to change this on the NES so you could save anywhere. So it does make sense from that standpoint that it was, like, an added-on thing. It's like the reverse of what happened with Metroid. The original Metroid has a save function. The US release does not. So that's why we get that horrendous password system that it uses. Because they had to clutch something in there real quick. There was a time when Breckenary was a paradise. Then the Dragon Lord's minions came. Cool. Where oh where can I find Princess Gwaelin? I would love to know. When entering the cave, take with thee a torch. Yeah, the caves are all completely dark, and torches will light them up, but they'll also burn out as you use them. Where oh where can I find Princess Gwaelin? Everyone's looking for the princess. Jum's coming was foretold by legend. May the light shine upon this brave warrior. No, Xfinity, I don't want to rate you. I forgot to put on Do Not Disturb. That's not the worst thing to come up with that. Okay. Nothing more? Okay. Well, that's great that I've been foretold. Thank you for your, I don't know what. Hello! We are merchants who have traveled much in this land. Many of our colleagues have been killed by servants of the Dragon Lord. Wow, that sucks. So there's some areas here that you can't get to until you go find more keys. Rumor has it that entire towns have been destroyed by the Dragon Lord's servants. I guess the world would survive off of rumor on this point. Thou hast not a key to use, but this treasure now wants it. To become strong enough to face future trials, thou must first battle many foes. Ain't that the truth? We're gonna have to fight so many foes. So many foes. Thou must have a key to open a door. Yes. So there's a guy over there. There's those people over there. We can't really get to it until we get in this. From what I recall, that guy sells keys, which is a bitter irony. I don't believe we can get over to him. Nope, because now we've left. And there's a first fight. A slime draws near. Command. So we did 1 hit point of damage. Took 1 hit point. They still use like that victory music is still used in a lot of the newer games. Like they continue using like the main overall theme of it throughout, which is nice. Thou hast done well in defeating the slime. Thy experience increases by 1. Thy gold increases by 1. So that's what we're looking at there. 1 point of experience and 1 gold coin. I want to get back here. Yeah, because of the moat, we can't get over there. So the only way we can access those people is with a key. Let's get to Breckenary. We'll see what we're dealing with. We have no equipment right now either. So I'm satisfied we were able to kill that thing without dying. Thou art most welcome in Breckenary. Welcome to Breckenary. Welcome. Enter the shop and speak to its keeper across the desk. Great. We deal weapons and armor. Dost thou wish to buy anything today? So, copper sword, 180 gold. One slime slain on Jum's path to hero. Now, I'm going to have to kill just hundreds of slimes. Hundreds of them. So many slimes. Copper sword's 180. That's pretty pricey. And it almost feels worth it to not buy the club versus a bamboo pole. With 120, we couldn't get both the leather armor and the small shield. We're far away off from the copper sword. We couldn't afford the copper sword anyway. So it's a choice between surviving longer or killing enemies faster. I would choose the defense. So an interesting thing with this game, as early as it is you don't really have an option to equip and unequip equipment. You can buy armor or weapon, and then that's it. It's just automatically equipped. If you already have a weapon or armor, they'll buy back your other stuff. Like, hey, it looks like you already got something, we'll buy it from you. And that's it. But you don't have a choice to assign these things or switch them out. You also can't carry different weapons or different armor. Not that in this end of things you'd really need to, but in some games, like, there may be a value in that. Maybe you get special bonuses or something from different sets of armor. Not here. Not here. You get one set. One shield, one set of armor, one weapon. And then that's it. And the price of these just goes up. Every town you go to has something slightly better that's a lot more expensive. So you're going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to spend a lot of time slaughtering everything I can find, everything I can survive. Very simple. Yep. So let's buy the leather armor. So now I don't have enough for a club. So let's buy a bamboo pole. It's only 10 gold. That's 10 slimes, where we're at right now. Now, let's leave some money left because I do not have any other way to heal besides going to an inn. We got to find out how much that costs. Watch thy hit points when in the poisonous marsh. Yeah, you will just die in the poisonous marsh. Well, you'll take a lot of damage. If you don't have a high enough base HP, you'll just die. Please save us from the minions of the Dragon Lord. Working on it. Go north to the seashore, then follow the coastline west until thou hast reached Garenham. Cool. Art thou the descendant of Erdrick? Hast thou any proof? I guess not. Oh, come back here. It's slippery. Many have been warriors who have perished on this quest. But for thee I wish success, Jum! A lot better than the other guy who's just like, you think you're bad? Prove it. No, I'm not Princess Gwalen. Enter while thou can. Within sight of Tentacle Castle to the south is Sharlock, the fortress of the Dragon Lord. Oh, look! We know where the Dragon Lord is. We just found out where the Dragon Lord is. Mission accomplished. One of them, anyway. Hello, sir. Welcome. We deal in tools. What can I do for thee? Herb, torch, dragon scale. The dragon scale is worth it. Dragon scale is worth it. If I may. This is like 7 pages deep on this thing. In the guide. Dragon Scale. If you use this item, you'll receive a small amount of magical protection. So this is just a little bit of extra protection early on in the game. Now, unfortunately, if we buy this, we can't buy the herb. But I think we'll be okay. We've got 1 torch. That's enough to get us rolling. Let's buy this dragon scale, because we'll keep using that for a while. Now let's go buy the inn. I believe the inn here is not super expensive. Some areas the inn is much more expensive. And that's a calculus you have to weigh when you're trying to grind enemies. Is, am I making enough money to pay for the inn? We'll get the special herbs later. Yeah, I'll probably kill enough to get herb, at least 1 herb, and then come back. Because the longer, it's not so much just about surviving the fight, it's the longer you can go without having to walk back to somewhere to either save or rest, the quicker you'll level up. See King Lorik when thy experience levels are raised. If thou art cursed, come again. Oh, okay. There's a town where magic keys can be purchased. Is there? This, I believe, requires key. Yep. What are you doing up here, you shady fellow? Beware the bridges! Danger grows when thou crosses. Yeah, as the manual told us, crossing over the bridge takes us to a more dangerous area. Yep, okay, we're gonna talk to that guy. Go north on the shores. Okay, yeah. Great. Welcome to Travelers Inn. Room and board is 6 gold. This is the cheapest inn in the whole game. By far. Not even close. Not even close. It's so much cheaper here than everywhere else. 6 gold. Yes. Thou seemest to have spent a good night. I shall see thee again. Unfortunately, you quickly outpace the amount of experience you get for enemies. Experience and gold you get for enemies in the immediate area. So it becomes worse. Did I leave this? I didn't leave this open. I'm so sorry. This gold is cheaper even in later games. Yeah. I mean, the 6 gold is like... 10 is like a baseline. I feel like most places are like 10 gold. That'll get you there. 6 is an odd number. I mean, it's an even number, but it's a strange number. Tell King Lorik that the search for his daughter hath failed. I am almost gone. Can I have your stuff then? Is the question. Like, I don't want to be crude about it, but... Alright, let's check our stats. 15 HP, it's max HP. We got 15 gold, 1 experience. We're gonna hear this song a lot. A red slime draws near. These are tougher slime. Give him a whack. Oh, he's got us for 2 to our 1. Gotta watch it. We may have to run. Okay, we beat him. So we took 4 points of damage from that. So we may not, want to fight them a ton, but you work that out on average. If we take 4 points of damage per fight, we can only really do 3 fights. And then we're back at the inn. So we got to make sure we make enough money to make it worth our while. It's a little bit tougher at first. You may be a little bit in the red initially, but it's better to lose half your gold when your gold is 10 than it is to lose half your gold when your gold is 500. 1 experience, 2 gold. So we're a little bit better off on that. Could also just run away. See, the mountains have... Our movement is slightly jankier. It's meant to be slower. It just looks less smooth. And the forests are meant to have more dangerous enemies, or higher encounter rate. Will it? I want to get up to probably at least level 3 before I move up north. because it's not far from here before we cross into more dangerous enemies. Alright, I don't like these red slimes. Oh, we got some good hits on them. I need, what, at least 30 gold. That'll buy us 1 herb and a stay at the inn. Ooh, missed us. This is the majority of the game. This is most of the game now. It's funny to me that the game has gotten like so popular in Japan prior to the release in the US. When you consider like, oh boy, can I win? We gotta go. We're hurt real bad. When you consider that in the Japanese version, like, you didn't even turn around. It was just like a static figure. But at the time, 1986, that wasn't that unheard of. It also just goes to show like the crazy difference in the time span of the NES, how they're able to advance between different programming techniques and advancements in the hardware and the carts, how they're able to advance the graphics within its own lifespan. Wow, wow. Yeah, the history behind Dragon Quest is really, really interesting too. There was a manga written about it that I believe fairly recently got a fan translation about the creation of Dragon Quest. That details the early days of its development with Yuji Horii and Koichi Nakamura and Kira Toriyama. Hey, we went up a level. Courage and wit have served thee well. Thou hast been promoted to the next level. Thy power increases by 1. Thy maximum hit points increase by 7. Nice. Of course, unlike a lot of games, we don't automatically heal from that. Franchise really loved now in Japan, right? Yeah. This has been a very popular series in Japan pretty much since its inception. Way more popular than it was in the US. It's kind of an urban legend, but it has some weight behind it. That I want to say it's more of a joke, but it's not like super far off that. The developers, the publishers decided to change from their regular release schedule, which I believe was on Tuesdays, to releasing it on a Friday, because it was well established that when a new Dragon Quest game came off, tons of people would call off school and work. And it supposedly would cause like economic losses and lost productivity because everyone would call off to pick up the new Dragon Quest and play it. I don't think that's necessarily true, but it was very popular and people would, spend a lot of time on it. But then also like it's kind of a slow paced game, so you could come in and just play for a little bit at night before going to bed, and then turn it off and come back to it, the next day after work, after school. But there was, I don't know if it's still around, but there was a bar, a Dragon Quest themed bar in Japan for a long time. It was pretty elaborate. That's how big it was. It's a pretty big deal there. Much bigger than in the States. And considering its humble origins, it's really crazy. But there's a lot of stuff that we took for granted that they didn't necessarily have access to. Like a lot of the CRPGs we had in the West were sparse in Japan. The particular flavor of game was sparse. Let's go talk to the king real quick. And this really like hit the spot for them, so to speak. Wizardry and Ultima had both been imported in Japan. Wizardry's a bigger one. If you're not aware of Wizardry, it was originally, I want to say, an Apple II game. It may have actually been for mainframes before that, but it was released on Apple II. And one of the people behind the game, Robert Woodhead, is the guy behind Animego, who has been in the anime import business in the US for years. He actually is like just retiring this year, I believe. He and his wife are retiring from the biz, which I never knew. Like I never put it together. Like I followed Animego, and they've in the past several years they've done a bunch of Kickstarters to do remasters and re-release of older series. They did Gunsmith Cats. They did Bubblegum Crisis, Megazone 23. What was the other one? They've done quite a bit of them. They're pretty nice. But yeah, it was him and Andrew C. Greenberg created the Apple II game Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, which recently got a remaster. Was that Digital Eclipse? Is it Digital Eclipse that did the remaster? I didn't mean to close that. The wrong thing. Yeah, Digital Eclipse, which I've heard good things about. One thing I really liked about the Wizardry Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord remaster is that aside from the upgraded graphics, you could have a little window in the side that would show the original graphics of the game while you're playing through it, which I thought was a really cool touch. And his story of creating Wizardry, like how he started that company and how he started working on it, is really crazy. How that came to being. Which I won't go all the way into here, but if you're interested in that stuff, I suggest you look him up and look up the story of writing Wizardry and getting it published. Yeah, and he founded Animego, one of the first US anime releasing companies. He also builds combat robots. Made a cameo appearance in 1982 video game Ultima 2 as an NPC. Bubblegum Crisis Ultimate Edition Blu-ray set, which was very good. Really enjoyed that. I'm trying to find like the other one. I can't remember the other one he did. Yeah, I never, even though the name's not super common, like being a big anime fan, and especially a fan of like how that was first coming over to the US, and like a big fan of like older RPGs and computer games, like I had read the two parts of that story, and they somehow were never, when they talk about Robert Woodhead and Animego, they never really went into the Wizardry, and they talk about Wizardry, they never really went to Animego, and I never made the connection, because I would read them at different times, like go through a different phase where I can read all about this history and that history. I never put it together in my head. And then once I saw the story listed together on a page, it was like, oh, obviously, yeah, duh, it's the same guy. But it's the kind of thing that they're different enough that you'd be like, no way, that's the same person. It's like finding out, the person that created Mario's race car driver or something like that. Maybe not that extreme. Metal Skin Panic Maddox 01. That was the other one, which was their first release. Well, they're one of the oldest companies. And they put out a lot of stuff. If you were into anime in like the 80s and early 90s, especially the early 90s, you probably saw stuff that they brought over. You're Under Arrest. was Animego. So what affected Miyamoto's a NASCAR racer. Hey, fact checking is going out the window, I guess. We can just say whatever we want now. All right, let's see what the king has to say for us here. For reaching thy next level of experience, thou must gain 16 points. Wilt thou tell me now of thy deeds so they won't be forgotten? Sure. Thy deeds have been recorded on the Imperial Scrolls of Honor. Dost thou wish to continue thy quest? Yes. You could say no and it just tells you to turn the game off. Take care and tempt not the fates. I'll do what I want. Those anime older cousin watched a few of them. Yeah, they're solid. They're, you know, they're of the time, but they're also like a lot of those are OVAs. And I've seen a lot of things over the years complaining about like the quality of animation of some series, but they would draw a comparison to like a movie or an OVA. And the thing, particularly with the OVAs in like the 90s, there was a time period. What's up, Juby? There was a time period where like you could get investment money easily for these OVAs, a lot of foreign investment money, because the hunger for imports of these OVAs in other countries was really hot, right? That's also why a lot of the Japanese OVAs are like super duper violent and just absolutely nuts, because that was what the foreign market wanted, or so was assumed, and probably true. You know, Ninja Scroll's pretty damn bloody. A lot of those OVAs are like pretty violent because that was what they were marketing it towards. But a lot was because they saw like this potential for like a bottomless barrel of money to pay for it. Animation's very expensive. That hasn't changed. It's always been expensive, right? Akira was an insanely expensive movie to make. And for a long time, it was said that, you know, they lost a ton of money on it, and how much it cost and how much it made was like a lot of speculation around that. But it was very expensive. There's a reason they don't animate stuff like that anymore. Number one, the time, and number two, the money. If you're making something for weekly TV, you got a lot less time, and the budgets are not, there's not as much money in it now. Those tapes were damned expensive, man. I remember getting charged like $30 for 2 episodes in a VHS tape. Insane, right? And think of a series that has like 24 episodes or more. It's like 12 tapes. They're like $30 a pop. That's crazy, right? And if someone put that out on a Blu-ray set now and said, okay, that'll be, you know, $320 for this anime TV series from the 90s, you'd be like, no, no way. But that stuff back then, like you would pay a lot for it, or you could go bootleg it, and you'd have to deal with whatever slop quality VHS duping people had. It was a very different time. Oh, we're doing solid damage now. We did 5 hits across 2 attacks there. Not bad. Where's our goal at? 14. I want to get another. There's a Draki. I will fight the Draki. We only did 1 point of damage. We lost a point. I can live with that. Uh-oh. He's ramping up the hits. He may be a tougher foe than I took him for. Oh, he's doing 2 damage per now. We're taking quite a walloping here. Oh god, he just did 3 points of damage. Alright, we took him out, but that was rough. Stick with the slimes. For now. Can't touch me. I've heard it said a lot that the NES didn't do a good enough job capturing Toriyama's designs for the monsters. I disagree. I think the core idea gets across. I think these slimes are recognized. Maybe that's because I've seen it now largely from the verse angle. It's easier, I guess, to look back from a current view of a slime to this and like match up in your head. Many points to kill a Draki? That was 5 or 6 turns. was close to 10. I can look in the chart. There's like 5 or 6 turns. Does this guide? I think that guide talks about that. I'll do that. It'd be quicker than me trying to remember. I'll try to remember to actually get rid of it this time. I think there's a enemy guide in the back of this. Possibly. No, we're just all over the place. Does it list this? It's on the back of the map, too. Directed their death sentence early on. Yeah. Like, they would take enough. If you encounter one of those without any equipment, you'd be messed up. Where is the back of the map? Oh, it's not super zoomed in, is it? Drag key. Looks like they have max HP of 5, which tracks. About five turns of 1 damage apiece. Which is not like a ton more than the slimes, but they do more damage. They potentially do more damage. But there's a lot of enemies also that are just like, how many times have you died? None so far. None so far. Been very, very slow and quick to leave. That third slime. Oh, that's the metal slime. Oh, it's metal slime. They usually run away. If they're good for XP, but they run away very quickly. Metal slimes don't exist in a very wide area either. And then there's a lot of other potentially more dangerous creatures around there. I believe so. I believe so. So we won't see a metal slime for a while. Well, we did 5 points of damage to that. Really got boosted up just by that one level. What a difference that one level made. Every time I have encountered a metal slime in this game, it has just immediately run off. And I have only encountered them like a handful of times. I haven't seen them nearly as much as I would expect. They were fairly rare the last time I played this. There's the gold man, but he's more for gold. He's pretty tough, but he gives a decent amount of gold, which becomes quite a big deal later. Keep that metal killer slice attack in future ones. Yeah. So you have like nothing fancy like that in this. It's just the weapons and then a couple of spells. Oh, we got ambushed. Oh boy. Oh, he's hanging on. This will be it though. So only got 3 hit points. If it's not a Draki, we can do one more fight. Might squeak in too. We're close to getting enough. Map is still up. It is still up. As soon as I take my eye off of that screen, it's all forgotten. Oh boy. We're fine though. We'll make it. Since internet caught fire. Oh geez. I mean, it's probably interconnected there. Oh, we don't have enough. Can I make it? Should I push it for one more fight? No, not this guy. Oh, no. All right, it's do or die. All right. All right. That was a foolish risk. We got blocked running away. It was almost spelled our end, but not quite. What we get for it? 1 gold and 1 XP. Was it worth it? Not really. Switch this VPN to Sweden. Yeesh. All right, let's start heading up. We'll see what we encounter. Can't cross those big jagged peaks. Ooh, excellent move. 6 points. Nice. We won't see that every day. I like the red slimes. They hit a little bit harder, but they give us a little bit more gold. About 4 points. Not bad. Not bad. We can take them. We got a cave. We can go in the cave. Now we're in the darkness. This torch does not light a ton, and it won't be around forever. They're all mazes like this too. Well, except for one cave. I don't know if there's anything else here. Nope. Nope. These are all dead ends. Where that dungeon, the dungeon maps and the guidebook really come in handy. Oh, here we go. Fortunate spells, pardon thee. Thou hast found the tablet. The tablet reads as follows. I am Erdrick, and thou art my descendant. Oh, okay. I mean, is it addressed to me? Pokemon OG game flashbacks. Yep. Gotta get Flash before you want to go in that cave, unless you want to bounce around in the dark. Yep. It's funny, you get a spell later to light up the dungeons, which is like, oh boy, it's so good. It's so good when you have it, because navigating around, and because this torch is going to burn out too, the spell lights it up so much larger. So, according to this, I am Erdrick's descendant. 3 items were needed to reach the Isle of Dragons, which is south of Breckenary. I gathered these items, reached the island, and there defeated a creature of great evil. Now I have entrusted the 3 items to 3 worthy keepers. Their descendants will protect the items until thy quest leads thee to seek them out. When a new evil arises, find the 3 items, then fight! Alright. Nope, did I not use this? I did not use it. I bought the thing, I don't even use it. Alright, now we gotta get out of here. I can navigate my way through here. Some reason going down. I don't know, I stopped that. Going in the downward direction requires holding the controller longer than any other direction. So sometimes I'll be looking down and he's not moving. It's because I'm just trying to move down 1 square and tap it, and he's just not going. Nothing else here. I guess not. At least no Zubats. Yeah, surprised nothing attacked us in there. They never did this again. Yeah. This game is rife with these up till like the final castle is a big dungeon like that with a lot more elaborate maze. It's not too bad, and most of the time you only have to go through it once and then you're done. Hi, Descendant. My dear friend told me to leave this here. Here's the instructions. It looks like your Descendant warranty is about to expire. All right, let's follow the coast. This should take us to the next city. We're not going to stick around very long. Ooh, excellent move. All right. So now we know we need to find 3 items. That somebody has these 3 items. Who, I don't know. Garan, a wandering minstrel of legendary fame, is said to have built this town. Garen, we'll just call him Garen, built this town. Many believe that Princess Gwaelin is hidden away in a cave. Oh boy! Well, if she's in a cave, she's done for. I'm not doing that. I have to do that. I don't want to do that. I have heard of one named Nestor. Dost thou know such a one? This was added to the US. Nestor's a reference to the character from a comic in Nintendo Power featuring Nest counselors, Nestor and Howard. Which were like the people you would write into a Nintendo Power to tell you how to finish games. So it's weird. It's weird to be seeing their names in this, like, oh yeah, that. Nobody's not gonna know who the hell they are. You should look them up and look up who the artist is behind them, because I really enjoyed their work. But like, yeah, nobody's into that now. Did you get an airship or something made traveling to the king easier? Not really an airship. You get an item, and then later a spell that will fast travel you back to the castle. But then you have to walk back to wherever you were. So like it's like halfway. You can get a one-way Uber back, but then you got to walk back to where you're at. So if you're at like the final area, instead of walking all the way back to the castle, you can fly back. But then you got to walk back to the final castle. So it's not terrible, but it's not great either. It definitely comes in handy, but it is kind of rough if you're walking somewhere dangerous and you get really beat up and you're like, oh man, I want to go back to town and like rest on the cheap. And then I'll walk back, and you walk back and get just as beat up. And it just feels like a Sisyphean task where you're just like, I'm never going to get to where I'm going. Because then you get there and that town's like, it'll be 100 gold for you to sleep in the inn. Like, oh. Sometimes it's like that. Welcome to Garenham. May thy stay be a peaceful one. I think this guy sells tools up here. Just how it sounds so bad in the walking camp. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And we'll do a lot of it. Most of the time, we're just going to the next area. But what will happen is we'll press forward a little bit to get to the next area and hit a little bit of stiffer opposition, and then have to come back. It'll be like just a little bit too tough for us. So we'll swing back for a little bit to heal up and then go back through. And eventually it kind of levels out and you can make it through areas. But the gold is one of the biggest issues, because when you're out fighting enemies around any town, you have to make sure that you're killing enough enemies to make enough money to pay for the inn. And some inns are expensive enough versus how much gold the nearby enemies give you that it's like, it's just not economical for me to stay here. So you end up having to calculate in like, okay, I can get down to this many hit points, and then I have to leave the area and start walking back so that I have enough hit points left to survive the walk back, because I cannot afford to stick around here. And then a couple levels later, like you'll be up to task on that. The numbers scale up fairly quickly, and it's kind of surprising how much of a difference a single level can make in some of the fights in terms of like your defense and strength going up. Suddenly you take a lot less damage. You do a lot more. But all the numbers are so small that it's like, if I do 1 hit point more damage per attack, like that's huge. That's a big deal. Because none of the numbers scale up that gigantically until like way later in the game. But it is like, it's a slow progressing game. He will sell us herbs for 24. Or the torch. You can buy more dragon scales. As far as I know, the dragon scale never gets used up. So you only need the one, and it's just there forever doing its thing. I don't want to buy the herb yet, because the inn is going to be expensive here. But we can see what weapons and armor they have here. Weapons are just, I wish to buy anything. Show me what you got. Yeah. Right, so he's got the copper sword, 180. They also have a hand axe at 560. That's quite a leap. That's quite a leap. We already got the other armor. But he's got chainmail, half plate, and a large shield. So depending on where you're at, you may be better off just holding on to your money and skipping over. Like, let's skip the copper sword and go to the hand axe. That's quite a leap. Right? We can skip the chainmail and go to the half plate, but like, it's a large sum of money. And then you're gonna get to the next town and it's even higher. But if you don't upgrade some of this stuff, it gets really difficult to get through. And so you kind of have to let go. At least this is my philosophy. You kind of have to let go of the idea of being super efficient with the money. And unless you already know where everything is and are really interested in getting through it as quickly as humanly possible, just let the money slowly accumulate, like rollover savings in a savings account, where they roll over your debit card transactions to the nearest dollar and put that in your savings. That's not a lot of money, but it slowly rolls in there to also not a lot of money, but it's more than nothing. And you just have to think of your savings like that. We're going to be on this journey for 27 years. That's an exaggeration, but we're going to be on this road for a while. 25 coins. 25 coins to stay here versus 6 coins in town. I think not, sir. Unless I'm desperate, because I don't think anything pays out nearly enough for that. I can stay at an inn in town, like back by the castle. If I fight 6 enemies, tops, like 6 slimes with 6 coins, that'll get me a night at the inn. I don't think if I fought 6 enemies here, I don't think I'd get 25 coins. I think it'd be closer to like 12 to 20 enemies here. So unless I can survive that, it's just not worth it. It is said that the princess was kidnapped and taken eastward. Eastward, eh? All right, we got something here. I talked to I talked to this guy, didn't I? Yep. So that's all we have here for now. There's this whole area here, which we won't be able to get to until we get keys. I should not want you to play one game for 27 years. No, it won't be 27 literal years. Depending on how many hours per stream, it will be quite some time, but I don't expect everyone to stick around for all of them. But I also expect people to stick around for as long as they're interested in watching the rather simplistic game of Dragon Quest played, or how much interesting things I can come up with to talk about, or how many interesting things other people bring up that I didn't talk about. You're not required to do any homework and bring stuff to the table, but I'm not opposed to talking about other stuff. It's like these slime designs. They're very simple, right? But like, look, they got a little smiley face. Like, I think that very well, like, that does a very good job of conveying the Akira Toriyama slime, the classic slime, right? And as we see more enemies, more variety enemies, which will be a while, I admit, I think it'll become more apparent. Especially some night enemies that every time I see them, I just think of Dragon Ball because of a character that, what's his name? Oolong, the pig, shapeshifter pig guy. All right. He transforms when Goku first encounters him. He's transformed into this armored knight, and it looks just like the design in this. Every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, it's that Dragon Ball crossover. Hey, we leveled up too. Courage and wit have served thee well. Thou hast been promoted to the next level. That power increases by 2. That response speed increases by 2. That maximum hit points increased by 2. That maximum magic points increased by 7. Thou hast learned a new spell. What spell do we get? We've got heal. And if I had MP, I'd use it. So now I'm not going to buy an herb. I'm not going to buy an herb, I tell you what. It's still useful to have. It's still useful to have. It's just a lot of money that we would just have, but I'll hold off for now. Some of my kind of guess he's a pig. Yes. I want to make sure I had the right name. Oolong just didn't sit right with me, but that's probably because you don't hear him talked about much post Dragon Ball. It's not like he really does much in Z that I recall. Let's talk to the king. Well, before I do, yeah, right down there, you see that this castle down here. So this is Dragon Lord's castle. You're surrounded by this poison swamp. That's where we're going. There's no bridge. There's no bridge here. So we have to wander away to get around to that. It's a pretty weird path, but that's where we're headed. We can't even get to the island unless we get the 3 items. I think it is funny though, if you look at like most of the marketing for Dragon Warrior at the time in the US, like I don't think Toriyama would have been considered much of a draw, and so just like in the manual, they tried to kind of West wash his artwork out, which would have made like Secret of Mana, particularly Chrono Trigger, particularly Secret of Mana 2. I remember seeing those games and being like, wait, Akira Toriyama does game stuff too? Because I knew him from Dragon Ball, but I just knew his name from that. I hadn't really looked him up much on the internet, and it was like a revelation, like, oh, he does game design? And then you look up, his other work and like, wait a minute, he did Dragon Warrior? I remember that at all. Oh yeah. Because I never really played them as a kid, but I brought something up that he was shocked Oolong was younger than Goku and had a more cutesy voice. Really? Oolong is younger than Goku? I'll have to listen to it. That's the Japanese, I assume, because I know like in the English, he always sounds like an old man. Even in the old days, it's me, Oolong. I smoke 12 packs a day. But I also, I'll look this up now. But Goku has like a very different voice in that too. Dragon Warrior is a year or two older than Dragon Ball, right? It's a bit. I can tell you. No, Dragon Ball is technically older. So Toriyama was already known when this came out. Dragon Ball started in 1984. Weekly Shonen Jump. They likely were developing this game or talking about it in 84, but this game released in 86 in Japan. So yeah, it's the reverse, that this game, or the Dragon Ball is slightly older than this game. But that was, you know, the fact that he was known was like what we talked about with Tales of Fantasia, right? That it was, going back to this series, it was fairly popular idea to bring in popular manga authors and artists to do work on game design, on character design for games, because it drew in like fans of that. So like if you put Akira Toriyama designs on it, people who are fans of Akira Toriyama would be more interested in your game. And the same thing with the You're Under Arrest guy, and even Star Ocean. Star Ocean had a manga artist on the first game. That's why I disagree with that. I know this is like way off from this, but he's a Dr. Slump before, so he's pretty well known. Yeah. Dr. Slump. I think Dr. Slump's got a lot more recognition now, but it didn't get as much back then. I can't say like something doesn't get as much recognition because I find I'm outdated on a lot of stuff. But I think Dr. Slump has or one of the characters has a game. Dr. Slump. Or am I confusing with something else? No, that's from Dr. Slump. Dr. Slump's pretty crazy. Just see who did the character design. The artist was Meimu, Japanese manga illustrator. They did illustrations for Gasaraki. That's pretty cool. Some Gundam stuff. What did they do before this? So even like a lot of people talked about Tales of Fantasia, their speculation that part of the creative disagreement that led to the split in the formation of Tri-Ace was that they brought in another artist to handle character designs for it and graphic design for marketing materials, and kind of pushed out their in-house artist. But the impression I got from a lot of what I saw was more that was more so that those were just like stand-ins before they got the real artist. But I don't know. I've not seen, you know, real like firm evidence one way or the other. But it lends more to my side that I don't think that's the case, that they forced him out to squeeze in a mangaka for Tales of Fantasia if they go to form their own company and then just bring in another manga artist anyway. That was just like pretty normal business stuff then. All right, beats Goku every time. Yeah. Yeah, Slump was fairly popular in Japan. It just didn't lend to the media merchandising powerhouse that is Dragon Ball. I mean, a lot of what pushes Dragon Ball forward is that they can sell like 1 billion, you know, model kits and stuff. All right, I'm gonna listen to this oolong here. Oh no. Oh, well there, okay. Well, that's classic Oolong. He just turned into a pair of underwear. That is a weird voice. It's definitely more kiddish than the American. Reagan sounds like an old smoker. 2 Force characters. Joe characters usually do. Dora could be Goku. Shaggy could be Goku. I don't know how much of a Joe character Shaggy is, but he could do it. I need 24 experience points for the next level. No, I do wish to continue. Pay attention what he's saying. What's up, Crooked Gamer? So from 9. He does have a more cutesy voice in the Japanese than the English. The English, he sounds like this. And he definitely sounds like a kid, like an actual kid in the Japanese. But yeah, young. He definitely does not sound like an old smoker. Uh-oh. Oh. That's another thing I forgot. I hit start without realizing it. Start pauses it. But aside from the fact that your idle animation stops going, like there's no indication that it's paused except for you lose control. It's pretty fun. How much is grinding tension? Nice. There is a game that I played last year. I didn't stream it because I don't have the means to stream Nintendo DS games, but also the way this one is set up, I don't even know how I would stream it. It was a Nanishino game, or the Nameless game. Has a fan translation. Was a Japanese only release about a cursed video game that is sent over the DS. Let's go about some of this. It's panning things with that voice. Yeah. Yep. Wait, I started getting nervous when I'm watching the clip and he transforms into a scooter. And he's like, go ahead and take a seat. And now his face is not the seat, his face is the front. Just get that out there, right? But it's still like, yeah, but like transforming into something that you're asking Bulma to sit on, this can't end well, right? And I thought it was going to go in that direction. But no, it turns out that he just like crumples under her weight. And she gets pissed. He's like, yeah, I'm not very good at that, but I could turn into something more useful, like underwear. And he transforms into underwear. Which, and then she beats his ass, which, you know, as you should in that scenario. Whatever happens to Oolong? See, this is junk. That would be horribly twisted. He certainly didn't seem like he was having a good time. There's a cave there. But I can tell this is gonna be doing it. Look, there's a Draki. How many turns will it take to kill him? I'm gonna say 3. Alright, we can kill Draki in 3 turns. We're doing pretty good. 2 experience. It's better than the slimes, and 2 gold. It's better than the red slime even. Oh, Torian, yeah. Pretty common in a lot of that stuff. That's one thing that I find I hate being an anime fan is like constantly kind of apologizing for the stuff that rolls in. Oh, this guy might cause us trouble. It's like a lot of the fan servicey stuff in anime. Like, even if the show's not explicitly for that, like it's still in there. Instead of you watching a show like, no, it's got a real good story, and they'll watch it, and people who... I don't want to make it like people who aren't anime fans just won't get it, but like someone who's not in it enough to just kind of like eat around the weirdness will watch it, and then they'll come back and be like, yeah, I guess it was okay. It was just very distracting with the constant like low-angled camera shots of all the high school kids. Like, yeah, I mean, I just kind of like... stop paying attention to that. I guess I can understand why that would put you off. A very young Bulma flashed Mr. Roshi. Was it Bulma? I think Bulma might, but also like Oolong transformed into Bulma in order to con Roshi. So, you know, Oolong pulled that off too. It's just a cutesy voice, and being young just makes it worse. At least with the smoker voice, it's creepy, but it seems creepy. Yeah. That is like a common thing I've seen like Japanese or Chinese media, where you have like sprightly, I don't know how to describe it, like sprightly old characters that have like very young voices but are like very old. It's kind of like the Western like elves idea, like the Lord of the Rings elves idea. Alternately very young looking people with very old voices. So it's not that unusual, I guess, given other things that I've seen. Have a character with like a very young voice who's actually like much more mature, possibly in a gross way. I'm worried about this magician whooping us. I do have the heal spell, but we only have 7 MP, and I think the heal is 2. Yeah, hurt's gonna hurt. That's 9 points. We're running. I can't take that guy. Not right now. We're gonna use this heal. That took 4 points, so we can only do it once. However, I think that's our max HP is 24 at this point. Maximum HP is 24. So that healed us all the way. It won't be that way forever, right? If we had 1 more MP, we could do it twice. But even doing it once is 1 less trip to the inn we have to make. But yeah, Oolong is a weird creature. But that stuff's everywhere. Even this game has it, but you won't see it because Nintendo said no. Or the publisher. I really don't know who is behind it. It's more likely Nintendo. Nintendo had certain standards they upheld. So things have been censored in this game. And I remember I did argue once after reading someone's comments about one of the Dragon Quest games. I can't believe they censored this in Dragon Quest, which I thought was ridiculous. My assertion was there's no way they censored that because there's nothing to censor. They did censor it, even though I consider it nothing. And one thing they censored that I never really think about or care much about until it gets really weird is they'll censor out any clear religious reference. So like pentagrams, crosses, Star of David, anything like that will get redrawn or stripped out of the graphics. I don't remember if this game had pentagrams in some areas, but there were crosses, I believe, in the castle. It has some crosses, and those have been taken out, stripped out of the graphics. The other thing is later on in the game, you come to a town where a woman offers to give you a puff puff massage, which is just a woman pressing her chest against your back and massaging you thusly. And it has become kind of an inside joke, not just in Dragon Quest, but in a lot of Toriyama's work. And in Dragon Quest, where it comes up in the game, they have rosaries. Yeah, they'll have rosaries. They'll have rosaries or like religious paraphernalia that they won't do much to work around. But like, if there's a cross drawn on something, they'll redraw it. That sort of thing. Like, games will have spells that are called prayers, but they're mostly just interested in like the visual end of it, which is strange when you think about it. But it's understandable, I guess, given the 80s in the USA and the satanic panic, that they just didn't want to see a bunch of NES cartridges going up on a fire with D&D books. But like that puff muff massage thing is like a running gag. And the crux of the gag is that you meet someone who offers that, and then it never actually happens. It always ends up being a scam. That is a kind of joke that's like, okay, maybe that's kind of adult, but like it doesn't actually happen. In the original game, I don't know if there's like a joke to it, like the screen just goes black. Now look at these sprites. There's nothing sexy about this guy. Let's be real. There's nothing tantalizing about this dude. And a female character's not really going to look different. There's nothing that this thing can do that's going to be that scandalous besides spit some words out that someone might go, what is that? And look it up and be like, I don't like that. And how would they know? Where would they look it up? The internet didn't exist. Not in 1989. Not in a capacity you could easily go search. What does puff puff mean? Now someone could probably figure it out. Maybe. But instead, now in the US version, they did remove that line, and she just says, I'm all out of tomatoes. So polygons are looking very... How low do you like your polygons? I don't even... Would this count as one polygon? I guess. It's about as low as you can get. I'm just saying, like, if you have imagination, this slime can be sexy. This tree can be sexy. The water can be sexy, right? This music can be enticing, right? If you have to use your imagination to that extent, they should censor the whole damn thing. And I'm glad they didn't, because then I want to play this stuff. It's just a funny thing to... It's funny to me that they bothered to censor it. It's also funny to me that someone was extremely upset that they censored it. It's like they're both equal. Like, this was such a dumb thing to cut out, but also it's the dumbest thing to be mad about. If the imagination, well, anything can be enticing. Oh, yes. Yes. Well, Droplet's a special case. If Droplet looked like this water here, well, then it would be down to the dialogue, wouldn't it? That's where it comes down to. But yeah, like nothing is even really implied to have happened in this puff massage. Saying for censorship. No. I dislike censorship, but at the same time, there are things that I'm like, that's a dumb thing to get upset about. Summertime Rendering, right? Really love that series. They put the whole manga for free on their website. It was like the summer before they announced it was being made into an anime. Which I didn't watch the anime. I gotta go back and watch it because it got picked up by Disney, which meant it was on Hulu, and I didn't have Hulu at the time, and I didn't feel like pirating it. But it was a really great series. I read the whole thing like in one afternoon. Really solid, right? It was when they published it in print in English. I went to go pick it up, and it was always sold out. But then I found there's a lot of fervor online because they censored hey, we went up a level. I was just sitting here mindlessly. This is what I'm saying. I'm just mindlessly killing guys down here in the slime lands, and I'm gaining levels. I'm at 60 gold. That's not a ton, but I'm getting somewhere. And it's not feeling like work. But people were really up in arms because they censored a shower scene that was like an underage teenage girl, like full frontal nudity in a shower. And I'm like, her being nude in the shower is not vital to the story whatsoever. So to me, it's like, yeah, that's kind of ick, and I don't need to see that, even if it's drawn. Like, I understand the character's age, maybe things are different there, but like, I don't see that being a huge deal. But like, that's the end of the world. I can't believe that. And I don't take the stance that like all censorship is equally bad. No, I think in a commercially released product, there's some things that are kind of a necessity to dump out. If you want the uncensored version, it's out there on the internet. You've already seen it. I can imagine the DQ water either going, getting you caged. I can imagine this DQ water, the droplet Dragon Quest water beating this game faster than me, and then taunting Zane about it. That's what I can imagine there. Response speed increased by 2. Hit points increased by 7. Magic increased by 10. And we learned a new spell. What spell did we get? Hurt. Now we can hurt fools. Now that we know hurt, we can go try and fight that magician. I'm gonna sleep in the inn first. Yeah, but I'm generally like, I don't, because of my own views, I guess it doesn't matter to me if you've got crosses or pentagrams or whatever in a video game background. I don't care about that. I'm not really up in arms about nudity. I understand. Maybe this is my own like weird American centric view. I have more understanding between like, this is a product largely marketed towards kids, and so we're cutting out this like the explicit sex scene or this nudity versus like a cross. Well, that's strange. Like, I don't know why you're cutting that cross out of there. Like the other stuff I can kind of see, but oh, Scorpion. How tough are these guys? 1 point. 5 points. All right. How does hurt? How much does hurt cost me? 2 points. 9 damage. That's not a bad trade-off. Boy, this thing takes a lot of damage. We've done 14 points to it. 15 if you count the one attack. Wow, 12 points. That's a lot. But that costs a lot of MP. Gold increases by 12. That's a lot. That's a decent amount of gold. This is like a hot zone here. Yeah, but I'm not the one in charge of whether or not stuff gets censored, which is probably for the best. There's just some things that I'm like, you know, oh, they you know, cut out the underage nudity. Yeah, that's understandable. Oh, they made they replaced Sanji's cigarette with the lollipop. Well, that's dumb. I guess I can see it. I guess I can understand why you do that, but that's stupid. And it's such a, I don't want to say like that's so central to his character. It's central to his character's design, right? Sanji from One Piece, right? We're like, no, he can't smoke. They've done that in like video games too. I forget which video game. It's one of the Disgaea games or one from that same company. That they replace someone's cigarette with like a lollipop, and it just doesn't make sense. And it just seems like, all right, well, you're trying to make something that maybe isn't for kids. For kids. And I don't mean the company For Kids, but they are the ones who did that stuff. Infamous Jelly Donut from Pokemon. Yeah, well, that's more of like, that's the kind of thing that I just find dumb. That I think companies were very misguided about. That was this idea that like kids in America and consumers in America who were into things that came from Japan, they had this idea that, well, they don't like it because of the Japanese quality. So we need to West wash it. We need to make it less Japanese because it'll weird them out. And it's like, never crossed your mind that that's what people were coming for? I mean, there's stuff like your Power Rangers, right? Which is a whole series of shows just sliced up and interspaced with inexpensive American actors, and then you have all the stunt work that's already done from an established show that you're paying pretty low cost to get access to, right? Which I think is different than like some of this, because some of the other ones were pretty weird. That, yeah, like the food changing is just nonsense. Some Japanese media, their culture, not ours. Enough of that. Yeah. Even if kids like had no idea what a rice ball is, any halfway intelligent child is gonna look at that onigiri and be like, that's no jelly donut. That ain't no jelly donut I ever saw. And that's their parents. I want that Pokemon jelly donut. Like, why would you do that? But like, I don't think the success of Power Rangers was entirely because they put like English actors in it. But I don't think it would have done well with that demographic based on the age of the show and the relative like production quality if they had just dubbed over it. But maybe, I mean, I think now that stuff would do better. I think people are a lot more open to that now. But in video games, like, that's less of a concern for things. But like naming always drives me crazy in games where they're like, what's the name? That doesn't sound American enough. They're not Americans. Brock style, yeah. It's a weird fear for a culture war. I think it really was just a marketing thing. The PC Engine, when it released in the US, it was the TurboGrafx 16. And for whatever reason, I've never understood or seen a convincing argument for why the pack-in game wasn't like a Bonk's Adventure or one of the many excellent shmups on the system. It was Keith Courage in the Alpha Zone. And Keith Courage in the Alpha Zone is a completely different named game in Japan that sounds really cool. So they made a whole comic about it with some He-Man looking clown, right? It's so dumb. Have you ever looked up Keith Courage in the Alpha Zones? There's a whole YouTube video about it, about like what it actually was. That I'll have to find and post somewhere because it's very informative. But that was how they localized it. And they're like, you're Keith Courage and your dad built this ship. And it's all stupid. And originally it's Mashin Hiro Wataru. Machine Hero Wataru. Which is an adaptation from an anime show. That's got another game, a role-playing game on the Famicom for it. And they had like model kits and stuff in Japan, and it was super cool, and they made it something really dumb for the US, and I don't understand why, except that it's too Japanese, kids won't like it. The American Mighty Morphin Power Rangers opening than the Japanese version. Talk, it's kind of stupid censorship. Yeah, because I think there's like a firm difference. They have constructed something new with the Power Rangers. And that I don't consider what they did with Power Rangers to be, we think kids will like the Power Rangers, but we don't think they'll like the weird Japanese aspect of it. As much as it would be easier to sell this to TV, because a lot of what people liked were like, they're fighting in suits. They got these cool robots. They're getting that. And I don't think they like went too overboard with it. Right. That's just me. Maybe there's someone who's like a huge fan of the original Japanese stuff that will take great offense to that. Like, they butchered it. Look how they butchered my boy. Some of that stuff got really dramatic. Who is the one of the series, like the Green Ranger dies? I don't want to say it's the Green Ranger. Not the American Green Ranger. Oh, no, I don't want to see this. No, this is a different one. It's one of the Super Sentai series where, do you guys know what I'm talking about? This wasn't like one of the American ones, this was the Japanese ones. I don't know if they ever brought this one to the States. But like the Ranger gets injured in like their penultimate battle and like conceals the severity of his injury until after his teammate's wedding, and he attends their wedding and then like dies right there. He's like, oh, hey, yeah, congratulations. I just want to make it to the wedding. And just like, he's dead. Like he's been walking around with this grievous injury. It's like what happened with Roy Falker and I don't know if that's his name in the Japanese version, but in the original Macross Robotech, where like he gets out of his jet and they're like, man, you made it. And then after he leaves, they're like, wait a minute, there's blood all over this. What happened? You know, the Pink Ranger dies in space. That one I don't know. I lost track of the US Power Rangers like pretty quickly. I think it was Black Condor. Guy Yuki. Yep, yeah. Guy Yuki is this guy. I'm gonna post this here. You can read about it. I might link to an episode. We'll diverge. This is what the Sunday grind is. It's somewhere close to 50% of me grinding through this game, and the other 50% is talking about Power Rangers or whatever else throws in. So if you walk in for this, so you understand what's going on. Story on Power Rangers in the wild. The guy misheard a commercial, then went to a meeting, asked for rights to bring in the States. Some business trip to Japan. He tried to bring other series over with like Marvel before then. We think the best part about the story is the guy who brought it over. Like when things started turning downhill, he's like, I don't know how this is doing anymore. Sold it to, I don't know, who do you sell it to? Disney, Hasbro, whoever. I think he sold it to Saban, Haim Saban, who brought it over. And I think he sold it to Hasbro. No, he sold to the Walt Disney Company in the I think early 2000s. Right? You guys know, this was on the Toys Who Made Us, I believe. And it was like a huge hit. And a lot of the success of it was like the merchandising, like the toys are already made. They just needed English packaging. And they would just resell essentially the same products already made in warehouse in Japan. So they have to pay for any of that kind of production cost add on to it. They're just piggybacking off of the existing toy lines, which is brilliant. And that's where all like the merchandising comes in. So it's Walt Disney. Walt Disney, I feel, did a terrible job managing it. And when it started tanking, he bought it back from Disney at a profit, I believe. I think he paid less than they paid him for it. He bought it back. That guy is like an amazing businessman, I gotta say. Looks like he sold it completely to Hasbro. He's got to get out of it eventually, but yeah, it's like amazing marketing on that guy. Yeah, but guy Yuki, he stops a mugger. It's not even a Sentai fight. This guy stops a mugger, stabs him with a switchblade in the stomach. And the mugger gets away. And so this happened while he's on the way to the wedding. So he's just like, well, that's my time. And he goes to the wedding. But he makes it too late for the ceremony. He gets to the reception and sits on a bench. And he greets them. And they're like, hey, what's wrong? He's like, I'm just hungover. I know, I'm just kind of like reading this out if you've read the page. Kind of like just gives his congratulations on that. And then they come over to take a picture with him and get up and leave. and he just falls over dead. And then his friends who got married named their son after him. Like, I don't know that they would do that in the US version. I don't know that they would do that in the US version. That's pretty dang mature. But that's pretty cool. in my mind. But I mean, in my mind, I consider that different. It's a funny thing about Sentai. It would show actual weapons, and Power Rangers would use sci-fi stuff. Yeah. I just never took the Power Rangers as like, American kids won't get this as much as like, it's an older show that we can reuse. But maybe I'm just looking at that through rose-tinted glasses because I appreciated that. Or didn't have the familiarity with Super Sentai to be like, I can't believe they changed this. Well, because they had stuff in that show that wouldn't really make sense to most American kids. Like the episode where the Blue Ranger gets obsessed with the pachinko machine. He gets obsessed with playing pachinko. And then they have to fight a pachinko monster. Who the hell knows what a pachinko machine is? It wasn't really like hot in the States, right? Am I wrong? That's purely like a Japanese thing. And just kind of a weird cover for gambling. Weird whips. They love those whips. The whips look good on film. Well, that's quite a bit of damage from that. And the Rangers absolutely hate to live in Angel Grove. Well, that place is just a wasteland, man. The property taxes in that place would be outrageous. Insurance? No way. No, nobody would have insurance. Insurance wouldn't do business anywhere near them. You would be so screwed if you owned anything in that place. Because I see the Rangers doing a lot of heroic stuff. I don't see them ever doing like canned food drives for all the now homeless people. Every business that was in that place would just be completely out of business. My dumb pet theory as a kid was like, they don't seem too concerned about knocking these buildings over, right? And so like, they're probably not fighting in an actual city. This is just like some weird ruins. Like they just have like an abandoned city next to them that they go fight in. Because they wouldn't be this callous about just like straight wrecking downtown every week. At least that was my thinking. Like there's no way they're just crushing downtown over and over again. Because when they're fighting, it's never like he's wrecking too many buildings. When they're gigantic, I mean, they're never like he's wrecking too many buildings, we have to end this. It's always like, oh no, we're gonna get defeated as they fall into a skyscraper with their own fake Karkura from Bleach. Yeah. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Check a message real quick. All right. They're fake Karkura from Bleach, or like the alien kind of like dimension. I forget what it's called in like Don Da Don. Mystic Force used magic to fix their damage. Remembering that wrong. I did not watch Mystic Force. By the time Mystic Force came around, I had pretty much stopped watching TV anymore. For many reasons. So I knew about it from the outside. I never actually saw it. I didn't even know it was still like Power Rangers still going until my friends' kids had gotten a little bit older. And one Christmas I was shopping for something for them for Christmas, and like, oh, they're really into Power Rangers. I'm like, what? That's still around? They're like, oh yeah, because we've been watching it with them, and you know, there's this pirate guy, and he's got like a shark sword, and it's real crazy. I'm like, what? So next time I went over, they were showing me some of the, at the time, current stuff that they were watching on streaming. Like, what is this? Even though they're still going with it. Someone's gonna be watched that at that point with them. Yeah. Ooh, a magic tracky. Oh, he's gonna hurt us bad. I don't know if hurt. We'll put the hurt on these guys because they're magic. 10 points. It's pretty good. I need to hurt on that. But look at that. 5 XP and 10 gold. Tank Force is pretty light. Of the Quantum Ranger. The last one I saw was whatever that series was I watched over there, which had Vulcan. Is it Vulcan's skull? Are they both in it? Those the guys from the original series? They were back in it? And some guy had a shark, and that's all I remember. It was like a pirate ranger. Like a space pirate ranger. Looks like right here is like the edge of a danger zone. Let's see how close we are to leveling. I would like to, I don't know if I'll have the money for it. I'd like to get one more level before tonight. I think we hit that at 100. I may be off on that. It'd be very nice if I could get enough money to purchase a next step up in the weapon, but I don't know if I want to grab that $180 copper sword or just hold off. It's like getting a better weapon means ending fights faster, which means I can do more fights. So it is just like an investment that slightly speeds things up. Quantum Monks and Dragon Zord, my favorites. I love that Dragon Zord. I owned the Dragon Zord and the Megazord, like the first ones they put out. Dragon Zord lit up and made sound, but it was just like it was very irritating. But it was cool how like they all fit together. But that was a very cool I just call it action figure. It was a very, very cool set. But I think I got those just because they remind me of something I had when I was a much little kid, which was the Voltron set. It was the robot lions that combined into Voltron. And I had one form of Voltron, but there was another different type of Voltron where the lions were much slimmer that I thought was a much cooler looking figure. I didn't have that one. But I really like that set. I got it for Christmas when I was a real little kid. So I saw the Power Ranger stuff and was like, oh, it's like Voltron. That's real cool. I want that. Uh, 11 points. 110 experience is what we need. Okay. All right, let's get to experience level 110. I don't think I'll reach 180 gold. Jaguar is also cool. Yeah. That was the only Godzilla movie that we owned when I was young. For whatever reason, like we had Godzilla vs. Megalon and nothing else on VHS. I think we can get 11 if I scooch down there. I think I can live. Kill this guy in 2 to 3, 3. We'll make it. Just need 9 more points. I really like that they used Jet Jaguar in the Godzilla anime they had on Netflix, which was scarcely about Godzilla, really, but it was really entertaining. It's one of those shows that it's like, I don't know that this was a great kaiju movie, but this was a really cool sci-fi show. We're gonna put on Godzilla versus Kong. I love the King Kong Returns with the Mechanic Kong. He looks so goofy. So love the Frankenstein versus the Earth, or War of the Colossus. There's like two giant cavemen beasts. A lot of good wacky kaiju stuff. All right, 8 more points. I'm not gonna get it from you, slime. I mean, I could just fight 8 more slime, then get the job done. But I want more money. I want that money. Just to heal ourselves up for safety. Come to me, wizard. Not wizard, magician. The wizard, magician, sorcerer, like, they all have names that don't have a very obvious tier to my ears. Like, one of them's a wizard, then there's like a magician, then there's a sorcerer. And I'm like, I don't know which one's which. I think magician's the lowest one. Wizard's in there somewhere. They're just like palette swaps of the same dude. Which is fine. That's, you know, they're just conserving their sprite list, but that's right. You can't touch this, Tracky. Oh, well, you're better than nothing. Oh, was it Godzilla's singular point? That's it. Magician should be the weakest. I believe you are correct. The magician is the weakest. Magic Tracky. I will hurt you. They don't always use the magic, but when they do, it hurts. It hurts quite a bit. There we go! Courage and wit have served thee well. Thou hast been promoted to the next level. Power increases by 5. The response speed increases by 2. Thy maximum hit points increase by 4. The maximum magic points increase by 4. No new spells this level. I can live with that, though. Now just one shot in these slime. All right, let's rest at the inn and see where we're at. I believe we could, if I were so inclined, I could purchase a shield. However, there's a better shield up the road, but it's much more expensive. But I think we'll just save up for at least the copper sword, because we're still using a bamboo pole. We're still using like the flimsiest weapon we can in the game. So let's get at least to 180 so we can get the copper sword. I don't think I want to like grind up to the next stage from that, because it's like 560 at this point. Follow D&D rules. On level 5, you get extra attack. Depending on what version, by level 5, you may have like followers and a castle and stuff. much like later games, I don't know so much about Dragon Quest, but there's a lot of games that add a lot more abilities. Because there's pretty much through the whole game, you have attack and then a very short list of spells. There's not a lot to it. There's not a lot more to it than that. Even the items are not really varied. There's generally not extra stuff you can do with that. Greatly pleased that thou hast returned. I need 106 points to reach the next level. So double. I need another 110 points. Well, that's not. No, that is more because it didn't take me 110 points to get here. It took me 110 points total to get to level 5. Now it will take to get to level 6. It will take as many points as it took me to get from 1 to 5. If that makes sense. Am I making sense? It scales up quite a bit. So I'm at that point now. The XP demands are going up. No. We will end that for this evening. We will continue this next time. More slow grinding and chit-chatting. Rest then for a while. Please push reset. Hold it in and then turn off the power. Okie dokie. Let's go back to the chattering screen. All right, well, that's some Dragon Quest. We'll be back with more Dragon Quest next Sunday. And I can't say every Sunday from now on, but generally speaking on Sundays, I will be here. Just more of this. We'll just be shooting the breeze. I may have more to say about Dragon Quest or different stuff about it, or just go into more detail on different aspects of it that I find interesting. But it's by and large just going to be hanging out, talking about whatever, and slowly grinding through the game. Because that's a lot of what the game is. We've got somewhat of our first hint of what's going on. We know where the Dragon Lord's castle is. We don't really know how to get there yet. We know that we are indeed the heir of Erdrick, the legendary hero. And then we know that we need 3 legendary items, 3 special items to reach the Dragon Lord's castle that he entrusted to people that are somewhere. So we'll have to search for those clues as we travel about and see what we can find or who we can discuss that can give us more information. Well, oh yeah, we also heard rumors that the princess is being held in a cave to the east. It's 2 separate things, held in a cave and taken to the east. So we can travel to the east and look for a cave. But we want to get more equipment. We want to improve our equipment first. It's actually fun to experience and watch good stuff. I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed. My primary concern playing a game like this is that it's just going to be like nails on a chalkboard watching me like battle slimes over and over again. But I have fun with it. I'm going to try to keep it entertaining. Let's take a quick look before I go to the schedule for next week, which I will put up. It'll go up everywhere in a little bit. I'm going to eat something after this, and then I got to finish doing some laundry. But it will be up tonight. But the schedule is done. Here's my schedule for this week. Don't ask me what this pose is, because I have no reasonable answer. I'm pointing at something with I don't know, is that a shocked or excited look on my face? And I made the pose and then slapped it in there and was like, what exactly am I pointing at? Kind of thing. And I'm not entirely certain. It looks like I'm pointing at the 19th. I think it was like, I made the pose and then put it in like, I could be pointing at the schedule, like, look at the schedule, which I guess is this. Anyway, I won't be back on Monday because I shifted things around a little bit this week. Tuesday, back for more Tales of Fantasia. Excited to get through that. I feel like we're right before like a big turnover, and I wish I it had been a little quicker or played for a little bit longer, but I had to get up in the morning last week. But go through that again. We'll be playing Tales of Fantasia for a while. Really enjoying it so far. Wednesday, be back for more Mega Man and Bass. Should be the final part. We're close enough to the end that all I got to do is get through that boss, and then it's on to the next ones. You know. But I won't be back for a third one. I'll tell you that much. I won't be back for a third one. Not for a while. I may play it again sometime as Mega Man. If I finish it in a short enough span of time on Wednesday, I'll try Mega Man for a little bit, but I'm not going to guarantee a full playthrough on it because I think that would drive me crazy. Call of Cthulhu Shadow of the Comet on Thursday. This one I felt really bad about. I didn't get into it as much as I really wanted to last Thursday. But as you probably know, and I've already mentioned, I got really sick and had to leave in a hurry. So that's why. But I'm enjoying it so far. It's the same old song and dance. We're in a weird, creepy town with weird, creepy folks. Everyone's kind of unfriendly. And I'm just looking for an old man, which I did find. And he had some weird things to say. Friday, I'm back at my young nephew's bidding. He has been demanding it. He's been demanding a return to Star Wars ever since I played the first one. So I'll be cracking out the old PS3. You can still buy Star Wars The Force Unleashed on the PlayStation 3 digitally, if you are so inclined. And I was. So I have Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. So if you didn't get enough of me responsibly using the Force in a non-Sith-like manner by picking up and hurling people to their death, in the first Force Unleashed, you can watch more of that in the Force Unleashed 2. Plus, I believe the Force Unleashed 2 has Dismemberment, which I'm sure I won't use a ton of and laugh about. Stormtroopers getting their arms chopped off. And then we'll be back again on Sunday for more Sunday grind. More of what we had today. I'm not going to put this over there. That's on the wrong hand. We'll just put it right here. Right there. Scratching an itch. That's what we got. I'll put it down here. Down here's better. So that's our schedule for next week. No disintegrations. You're not the boss of me. I kind of, my nephew could not resist telling me, oh, I just hit a button. If you turn the power off first, the Imperial Scroll of Honor containing your deeds may be lost. Okay. Let me just. Get rid of that scary message on there. So he's already told me like a lot of the story. He loves to talk about this stuff. He's been talking about those games for a while. So he's very excited to see me play. I think it's all a lead up to what he really wants me to play, which is because he has played that and he wants to come in and tell me where everything is and be helpful, which I appreciate. It's very nice of him to offer as much. I said, as long as you're not being a backseater. It's like, what's a backseater? It's like, where you just sit there and tell me that I'm doing it wrong every 5 seconds. I didn't say it like that. Not nearly as harshly, but he's excited. But he really wants me to play the new Star Wars games too, because he's played those a lot. I don't know if sometimes I feel like he's trying to get back at me, because when he would play those games, he'd get very frustrated, and I'd be sitting there with him, because when he first played him, he was playing him on my PS5 down in my cave until he got his own PS5. And if he'd get like really jammed up or frustrated, I would try to offer him pointers, like, hey, maybe try this, or like, why don't you like just take a little break because you're getting like really upset about this, like just pause it, like take a breather, like, you know, when you get really, really tense, you just end up making mistakes, which was not the thing to say. He would just make them madder. And sometimes I think when he talks about wanting to help me in games, I think it's that he's like, I'll show you what it's like. It's like, oh no, was it really that bad? I think there's the difference between like when you're in person with somebody and you can like there's not a delay. That's a lot of the problem in the streaming end of things with backseating is because of the delay that someone may be telling me to like turn left, but I've already turned right before their message reaches me. And so then it gets very frustrating for either side of it. Because I'm like, oh no, I wish you told me sooner. And they're like, I wish you would have listened to me. It's like, okay, oh no. But yeah, he can be a bit stubborn. But he's excited about that. So I told him I'd put another one on the list. Anyway, that will wrap up the Dragon Quest for tonight. But don't go anywhere just yet because it's time for Bubble Bobble. You thought I wasn't going to do it. Really got to remember to program that in. I didn't set my Bubble Bobble button to stop the music. All right, let's squeeze one Bubble Bobble in before I head out. Oh, coming in hot. Oh God, that guy was all over the place. There we go. That was kind of weird. Except from that last guy, they just all came straight at me. Well, that was a quick one. Jump! We all know that Van Halen song. That's my terrible Van Halen impression. Anyway, that'll do it for me for this evening. Let's get my ears to play some Dig Dug. Oh, Dig Dug's a good one. You ever play Mr. Driller? Mr. Driller is nice too. It has some connection to Dig Dug. I forget exactly which. Dig Dug is nice. I always want to check out. Isn't there like a Shovel Knight game that's like a Shovel Knight Dig Dug style game? I should look into that. I played a lot of Dig Dug in the arcade as a wee young child. I threw a lot of quarters at Dig Dug. Really enjoyed that game. Really liked pumping them up and then popping them. I don't know how far I got. I did pretty good the last time I played. That's not saying much. 80s Jum with a bag of quarters. 80s Jum with too many quarters for my, chubby little Jum self sweatpants to hold up. That was a weird little troll. Hanging in the arcades. I forget what it's called. Oh, it's Shovel Knight Dig. Shovel Knight Dig is the game I'm talking about. Oh, well, that's not like Dig Dug. It's a Shovel Knight roguelike. That you're digging down, but it's definitely not like Dig Dug. I hadn't seen it before. Someone described it to me as that. Like it's like Dig Dug with Shovel Knight. Maybe they just saw the dig. Or unless there's a different one. Is there? Is it Shovel Knight Pocket? No, it's not Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon either. Are they just making stuff up? Am I losing my mind? Or were they? Or is it all of the above? Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon is a action-packed puzzle adventure mashup. Well, yeah, that's like a puzzle game. That's not a Dig Dug either. No, that was a Dig Dug. I don't think the person who described to me a Shovel Knight game that's like Dig Dug actually knows what Dig Dug is and just saw the shovel or the word dig and was just like, it's the same thing. It's like comparing Bubble Bobble and Double Dragon because they kind of sound the same. That's the feel to me. That's the feel. Could be the Mandela effect. I could just be my brain damaged. My brain bedamaged. And I don't remember no good. But I swear someone was describing it. I did not see it, to say like, no, I swear it was real. They was describing it to me as such. I think perhaps they just had a misunderstanding of it. Oh, bubble time already. Bubble time has come and sadly has gone. Well, my old cement mixer tummy is rumbling. So it's telling me it's time to hit the old dusty trail. It's not as bad as it was before. Let me see. Who is around? Who is streaming right now? Who is this Varden Hest? What is this game? I'm going to offer you another streamer to go watch, if you care. This is Varden Hest. Not a vampire. He's playing Gearbits. Looks like he just started it. Flash is already there. I see you. So if you want to pop in and say hello to Varden. Most of Mexico is a false memory of an ending to Captain Smile that didn't happen, we remember. That's so strange. That's so strange. Do you think we'll ever find, like, I think some years from now, people will have done enough scientific research about things to find some actual, like, cause or something about that. But I'm actually terrified because I think if anyone really does research why that happens, that they'll only learn how to create it, how to make it happen, and then none of us will ever know what was real or not. That's actually kind of a nightmare scenario. Well, that's gonna spin me into an existential crisis of my own design. Well, on that note, I will bid you farewell for this evening. I'll see you back here, hopefully on Tuesday, for some more Jum Jumington action with Tales of Fantasia. Until then, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chatting. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you come back some more. Until then, so long, everybody. Bye-bye.